anybody in the audience who wants to verify the 7 criteria for life, just Google 7 criteria for life, and you will not find a single source that says nervous system. Not a single source will say
that. You need
they
to have a nervous system.
I'm still talking,
man.
I'm still talking.
Let him finish.
Like, seriously. Right. So again, every source will tell you something along these lines. I'm paraphrasing with the sources that I've gone on, but it's containing cells, containing DNA or some sort of hereditary trait where they can pass traits onto offspring, having a metabolic process of intaking and burning energy as fuel, maintaining a homeostasis, which is a maintenance of the equilibrium within the internal environment, which occurs on the cellular level, the capacity for growth, the ability to reproduce either sexually or asexually, and adapting and responding to stimuli. Not one of those criteria says must have nervous system. Not one. Unless you can find a source that says it does. But again, anybody in the audience that looks it up, anybody in the audience that looks it up and can confirm, find me one single source that says requires nervous system to be alive. You're not going to find it. It doesn't exist.
How do you think a reproductive system works? If I said a nervous system was involved, would you believe me?
Are you referring to a sexual reproduction system or an asexual?
I'm saying, do you think homeostasis? Do you think that requires a nervous system, or is that something I'm just talking my ass?
I think you're talking out of your ass. Yeah.
Okay. I think the audience can make a decision on that one because I think it's very silly to say that.
Find one single source. One single source. That's all you have to do.
Friend, I'm sorry if you don't understand what a nervous system does. I can't help you. You're not helpable.
No, you are not helpable.
I'm not obligated to do your work for you.
Behind your claim. You have no basis
you just Googled it up. You're sending me links.
I cited 4.
Why don't you go look that up, friend?
I cited 4.
Go look it up. It's so simple. I know.
Again, here. Look, I'll read a couple more just to solidify my point.
Okay.
This is from justthefacts.org, and it cites a bunch of different sources. So this one says, after fertilization has taken place, a new human has come into being. This is no longer a matter of taste or opinion. It is not a metaphysical contention, and it is plain experimental evidence. This is from Dr. Jerome Lejeune, professor of genetics at the University of Descartes, Paris. Here's another one. An individual human life begins at conception when a sperm cell from the father fuses with an egg cell from the mother to form a new cell, the zygote, the first embryonic stage. This is from Dr. William Revel, University College Cork, Ireland. I mean, we can keep going. I can cite you 15 more off the top of my head right now. You can cite 0.
I don't need to cite anything.
No, you do. You do. Why should anybody believe you? What are you? Are you an accredited?
You're literally not making sense because you don't understand science.
Give him a chance to respond now.
I do like biology. It's not a hard claim to say that reproduction requires a nervous system. You sound incredibly silly when you don't deny that.
Back up the claim.
That I don't know what to do for you, friend. Like, I know you don't like science. I see this now. You don't like biology.
Oh my god.
You don't like biology.
Even though
you like to cite sources. And you think that's justification for denying a woman's sovereignty,
bro?
What are you doing? Why don't you go home now?
Bro. You look foolish.
Yes, you do. It's a very simple statement. That a reproductive system needs a nervous system. I don't know how to help you.
You guys are fucking killing me here. You're fucking killing me. Listen, we're gonna move past this. Some fucking way we're gonna move.
Andrew, you don't understand. He can't give this up.
Yeah, what are you
he cannot do this.
Just hang on. Let me talk now for a
Andrew,
second.
Why don't you look up a nervous system? I'm not going to capitulate.
Why don't you make your own argument? Don't seek help from the moderator.
I'm the arbiter, man. I'm not. I can't really interject that way. But listen, listen. There's got to be a way here, some way that we can move past this. And if there's not a way for us to move past this, then we're just kind of running around in circles here.
Right.
This is often, I will tell you, Andrew,
he claims science but doesn't want to know about biology.
So this is what you do. I'm talking and then you like shove your mic down your throat and then
you want to talk first. I'm just going to talk louder. You want to go first? I'll just go louder. I mean, okay.
Be respectful, bro. Be respectful.
Okay.
So, Andrew, I will tell you, I've done probably like well over 1,000 abortion debates, and this is not my first time, obviously, running into somebody who outright denies the science. And I will tell you that
You're not being scientific. You're denying biology.
I've never been able to continue the conversation with somebody who denies the science. It's actually
it's not science.
I'm actually going to bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then we good.
And he's been kind of wanting to go after this kind of abortion style debate too. Do you mind, Zen, if I bring him in?
Yeah. Are they pro-choice? I'm guessing.
He's kind of on the undecided side.
Okay.
Oh, good. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I'll kind of bring him in, and maybe you guys can fight for his soul a little bit. How's that sound?
Sure.
So Earthman Brick, why don't you head into the waiting room, and I'll send you a link. Okay. And while I'm doing that, you guys can like ad hom each other to death. That's okay. And I'll get this guy on here in a second.
I'm on here about women's sovereignty, and this guy's trying to figure out how many sources he can cite. I don't know what this guy's doing. He's got so many debates. Wow, they must have been all weak sauce.
Yeah, and you're a science denier. It's literally all I have to say.
You don't like biology. You don't understand nervous systems.
Okay. Yeah.
You only cite people who think about science.
I'm actually not going to engage in this. This is
because
you look
it's
like
actually a very important
topic. You look
topic.
like you're more than double
it's
my
age. It's a very important
and
topic.
half my age.
And a lot of
I genuinely feel bad for you. Look at yourself.
I have kids. I have a wife.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry.
I'm a responsible man. I take care of my business.
I doubt that.
You got guns. All right, dude. Good for you. I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Who cares? Look, I'm a fat guy. Whatever. I don't care.
We got
this is my life.
Abundantly clear.
All right, just take, both of you guys take just a minute. Gather yourself. We're bringing somebody else on here, and hopefully we can get the rumble going again.
I'm sorry you don't like the way we look. We know we can't go on a date now. It's really, really sad. There's health issues to be involved here.
Earthman,
there's legal issues here.
Yeah, there you go.
And this guy is going to make himself irrelevant if he can't even engage with that.
All right, so this is everybody. This is Earthman Brick. He's a member of the Discord. He had been looking for kind of an abortion debate, and it seems like this is the right time. So, what did you have to say on that, Earthman?
Well, I don't know. This is kind of impromptu, so I don't know where we're kind of coming in at it from. But iMythology seems to be kind of struggling here a little, in terms of just kind of agreeing to the point where it's like, where does life begin? Because I mean, if you're not willing to at least concede or entertain the side of saying, okay, for the sake of this argument, I'll say life begins at conception, and then just take it from there. Because I'm willing to hit that point. I don't see any problem with it. Are you able to hit that point, iMythology?
What specifically was the question you're asking? I'm sorry.
Are you willing to concede with Zen Shapiro here and just kind of entertain the concept of saying, okay, for the sake of this argument, I'm willing to agree that life begins at conception?
I don't care about life necessarily. I care about women's sovereignty. And I mean, the identification of life, I'm saying necessarily requires a nervous system.
Okay,
that's why it can't happen at conception.
Can you prove that?
I can't. Can I prove that there is no nervous system in the human process?
This is a joke. This is a literal joke. Why did you challenge me? Like, what were you thinking? Like, what the hell were you thinking, bro?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You can't give up that point.
He just keeps talking. You're not interested in a debate.
So I can't concede that point because it's not true. Life necessarily requires a nervous system.
Falsify it. Falsify it.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
What about a nervous system?
So
yes.
So here's the thing.
I
be a viable life.
I should have agreed to
well, it doesn't make sense. I mean,
something beforehand.
Okay. So here's
he needs to say
with this whole debate. It's like this.
He needs this to be the point. He cannot give it up.
Bro.
He has people concede this fact. He's okay for you, Earthman. I will look this up of like what a nervous system does for humans.
Oh, but not
because he said specifically with his own words that you need to at least have respiration or reach homeostasis. So in order to do that, for it to be life. So, whoops. So does it make sense to reach homeostasis, to be able to reproduce? I'm saying that you need a nervous system. Does that make sense, Earthman Brick?
No.
Okay.
It's like
what part?
You can say anything. It's like, what do you define life as?
He had a good list. That's not a bad list. It's not a bad list. It just requires a nervous system, and humans don't develop a nervous system till 4 or 6 weeks within development of the human person, like that human process. That process of making babies. In that process.
At which point, if reproduction is the thing, then what about transgender people? Are they no longer human beings or something? I mean, I don't understand.
I can answer that one, Earthman. It's reproduction, either sexual or asexual. So an example is like your skin cells are reproducing asexually. So like your body is still reproducing even if you're like not fertile. So yeah.
I get you on the cellular level.
So now everyone's mic is muted here for just a second. So everybody just chill out for 1 second. iMythology. When I started out with the Crucible, just like over the other show, I wanted a neutral ground for people to combat these issues, right? In this particular case, you have been so fucking destroyed on this and so completely humiliated on this. I'm removing you from the stream because you are a fucking idiot. Now get out of here, fucking moron. Jesus fucking Christ. What fucking world? This is the Crucible, fucking idiot. Get the fuck out of here.
Base.
Get. Turn your fucking camera off and get off the fucking Crucible. Get out of my server. Fucking idiot. Wasting all my fucking time, wasting these guys' time. Have to set this up for these fucking guys, and you come in with this fucking shit? Get the fuck out of here, lunatic. Now, you got the floor, Zen, and you're going to tell us all about what you think. You beat the holy shit out of this guy, as well you should have, but unfucking believable, unreal. You got the floor. Go ahead.
So basically the argument is that being that human life begins at conception, and this is a verifiable scientific fact, as much as people love to disagree with it and can't substantiate any sort of falsification to it, it's still a fact. And in abortion, it necessarily follows that an abortion is killing a human life, an innocent human life that is not guilty of any crime or offense. So if we are to make the argument that this is allowed, if you accept that human life begins at conception and you're still pro-choice, then the burden lies on you to argue why we should be able to kill innocent human lives. That is a very extreme position to take. It's equally as extreme as saying we should be able to rape women or molest children. You've got a lot of questions to answer.
Anybody in the chat that doesn't say that guy was a fucking idiot in the next 1 minute getting kicked out of my chat too. All you motherfuckers. I better just hear nothing but fucking moron. Wasting all of our fucking time, all of our energy, setting this thing up. Didn't even prepare for it. Nothing. Blown out in 20 fucking minutes. I know progressives who would come in here and would lose their fucking minds on this guy. They'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're making us look bad. You're making us look retarded. What the fuck are you thinking, man? What are you fucking thinking? And that's my rant for that.
Anyway, just to cap it off. Yeah. I apply an objective standard of morality that states that killing innocent humans at the whim of your convenience or some another arbitrary measure is the wrong thing to do in all scenarios.
Okay. So going back to Stifler's thing, I was just a little confused. What exactly kind of is your objection again with the rating looks on the scale of 1 to 10 thing?
I think because I think the subject here is very much around dating and how people view themselves when they're dating, and because I never really was taking into account what my physical looks were when I met my husband, and I wasn't taking into account his physical looks either. None of that really was an equation for me, and so I don't think along those lines.
So Andrew, you might have missed it. I was asking her when, with her, she's married, when you first met him, and I asked, you weren't even considering looks at all, even a little bit. It wasn't even weight, height, nothing, facial symmetry, nothing. So are you not physically attracted to your husband? I'm a bit confused.
No, I'm attracted to him, yeah.
Okay.
What are the qualities that make him attractive physically?
Well, he's very intelligent.
No, physically.
Oh, physically?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing. I have went on dates before with guys who you would define as like a physical model, and I've been completely unattracted to them and bored with them.
Sure.
So for me, attraction actually is very much based on how I feel with them and whether or not they stimulate me intellectually.
Yeah, well, I
like
get
intelligent
that.
men.
But
I'm
like
attracted to intelligent men.
My wife, one of the things that she does it even annoys my chat, things like this. All she does is talk about how stunningly gorgeous I am, which is in no way, shape, or form true, but she's very kind to do it.
Okay.
Okay, but what she does is she'll say, I like this quality, I like that quality, I like this quality. She tells a story about how when we met, she opened the door, she heard Dreamweaver in her head, right? The whole 9 yards. Speaks very, very highly of me. From the perspective of the husband, he's sitting at home watching you right now, right? And
Well, I can tell you some things I like.
Yeah,
about
what's
him.
the physical qualities?
He has a
that
nice
you
smile,
like?
and he's got, I guess, pretty colored eyes. I don't know.
But that's all your physical. So just no physical attraction at all. That doesn't matter at all.
I'm attracted to him, but it's not one of those things where like I'm not shallow in that I will dismiss somebody if they don't look like a certain thing I'm after. Like for me, like I said, I will dismiss somebody if I think that they're stupid, or if I think I don't respect them, or if I think that they're mean or arrogant or condescending. I will not be attracted. Any bit of physical will be gone if there's personality issues, or if I see that person is.
Yeah, I get it, but the reason that this is asked is we're purely looking at the physical end of it, which you would agree is super important for maybe not you, maybe you're the one exception to this rule I've ever found, but most everybody has some kind of qualification for physical attractiveness. Even you must, like for instance, you wouldn't debate or you wouldn't date a guy who's 900 pounds, right? That would be.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I probably wouldn't want to date
probably wouldn't want to. So there
pounds.
are some physical barriers. So
Right.
we're looking at that. We're saying what you would consider those physical barriers there, you could kind of assume what men's physical barriers may be. And based on those, how would you rate your physical looks to that?
I'd have to ask the men. I've heard different things from men as to what they think I look like.
From your perspective of what you think men would think.
How men have thought about me, what they think my number is.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably, obviously I'm 33 right now, so
Sure.
my number's probably gone down.
Sure.
Right? When I was younger, a lot of men, I always was just constantly being approached by almost every man I was coming into contact with. But, I mean, how much do men just say to women, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you're stunning, you're this, all the time? And that's just not just them saying it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I'm just saying, based right now, you're 33, how you look right this second, how would you perceive that most men would perceive you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest for physical attractiveness, 0 being the least? 1,000 pounds, jowls out to here, zits all over the face, right?
Right.
Where are you at in that scale?
I don't know. That's
If
why
you
I said
had
men,
to guess.
Men are visual creatures.
Let's just say you guessed. If you had to guess.
If I had to guess.
Yeah, I
a
had to
number,
guess. Yeah.
I don't know. I already told you. I think we should let
You
the
don't
audience
know
do it.
how you don't know a guess?
Well, I know that
it's a
my
guess.
husband would say he probably thinks I'm a 10.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, but you.
Okay.
But what do I think?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just move on. Go ahead.
I don't know.
I would say like a 6 or a 7.
Same.
Okay. All right. Andrew?
4.
4. Okay, I give myself a 5.
Twin.
5. All right. There you have it. There you have it, folks. I have maybe a quick throw out here. Actually, let me read this chat really quick. Glad I tuned in tonight. Instead of a bunch of 304s, we have a based 306. No fucking idea what the 306 is, but come back to South Korea, SK. We need more women like you.
Oh, SK, is that Saskatchewan, sir?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think he's saying you're based.
Maybe 306
Oh,
because
yeah,
it's north. I don't
Saskatchewan
know.
is where I'm
Because
from.
I don't know.
What's a 304?
Definitely an area code.
What
it's an area code. Yeah.
Definitely.
You mean
I saw
host?
based and got happy.
3-0.
So
Huh?
thanks.
Is it supposed to be? Never mind.
She's
One
got
one
area
question
codes.
related to the rating thing. Does anybody here think they're going to be more physically attractive in 10 years as compared to how you look now? All else being equal, does anybody here think they'll be more physically attractive in 10 years' time? Starting with you, go ahead.
No.
No.
I mean, no, objectively, probably not.
I don't know. Realistically, societally, probably not.
Okay.
I don't know, but going by the typical pattern of things, probably not.
No.
No.
I think so. I think that your 30s are your prime.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. What about, let's go 10 years forward.
Well, hang on. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So 20 years from now, you are 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you going to be more physically attractive at 41 as compared to now at 21, all else being equal?
No, at 41 I would not be.
Okay, so you think you'll peak early 30s, basically, looks-wise.
Right, yes.
All else being equal.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Well,
You had something, Andrew?
I did. So, do you think that attractiveness between men and women is tied to fertility? Do you think that would be a good reason for why men would find younger women to be attractive, is because younger women have high fertility?
I think that that's part of it, yes.
not in all
What-
cases.
Really? What would be the other case? Besides a fetish.
Well, that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
Real quick.
so that's like
Lack of
if you're
mental
gonna
maturity.
if you're gonna introduce like lunacy to it, like fetishes or something like this, sure. But generally speaking,
Wait, can you say the question again, like simplified again? Sorry.
yeah. So don't you think that what is considered attractive between men and women would often be tied to fertility?
I mean, there's that argument for sure, but when I ask my father about it, he tells me that he bases it on a woman's relationship with God, her spirituality, as well as her intelligence, because he needs to be able to trust that woman to raise children with him.
Well, I wish your dad was
And-
sitting where you are, because
well-
if I said the woman had all of those things, but all things being equal, you had to pick between one who was a 4 and one who was a 10, and both of them had all those same qualities, which would you pick? Your dad would say the 10.
Well, he said circumstantially. It depends on what that woman is capable of doing and what
I just said they have the exact same values, just one's
Well, then
hotter
I
than
guess
the other.
Well,
maybe.
would you pick
guess,
a
but
would you pick a
that's not what
20-year-old
I'm
10
talking
over your
about.
wife?
No, of course not.
Okay, why?
Because of the value distinction.
Okay, well, I think that's
Yeah,
what she's
but- yeah,
pointing out.
I'm not actually-
That literally makes no sense what you just said. My question to her was, they have the same values. You say, what about the distinction of values? It makes no sense to my question. The
Okay,
values are
okay.
identical.
If the values are identical, maybe a man would prefer the one who's more attractive, who has the exact same values.
And why would they
But-
prefer the one who's more attractive?
I mean, that's. I'm not a man that I should answer that.
Oh, okay.
All I'm saying is that.
Wait. Why would you have to be a man in order
Because
to
I don't
answer that?
Because it's circumstantial. Like I said.
It's not circumstantial. The human
Can I
race must
finish what I'm
survive,
saying?
right?
Can I finish what I'm saying, sir, please?
Well, I
What
mean,
I'm-
can you make it quick? Can you make it snappy?
Well, I could have been done
Can
if
you
you
stop
didn't
being so
interject. me.
no, I
condescending?
can't. So anyway, can you make it
What
quick?
I'm saying is, like I said, I've asked my father the same questions, and what he delineates to me is that it's circumstantial based on what he's compatible with that woman, what she's capable to do with him in a relationship, in raising children, having a home, having a relationship with God, and things like that. It's not just on attraction alone, and he would take someone.
I know,
who's-
we know this, but I don't understand why you're incapable of engaging with this. You don't
I'm
have
just-
to be a man in order to engage with the idea that, of course, men are going to be attracted to women who are more fertile.
But
and
I-
on top of that, I gave you the equation of same value structure that your dad would like. Woman who's 4 has it, woman who's 10 has it. You say he'll pick the woman who's 10. I say,
I said he
great,
might
if you'll
pick
pick
the
the
one
woman who's
who's more
10, why? You go, I'm not qualified to answer that. That's crazy.
Well,
you
I'm
think-
saying that you said, okay, I said that if the attraction was 10 and 4, maybe he might pick the one who's a 10.
Why?
If they have the same values.
Why?
Because maybe he might be whatever. But
Well,
you
no,
just
not whatever.
equated
The
it to
whatever is the
fertility,
question.
and that's not what I
no,
initially
The
said.
whatever
What I
is
said
the
had nothing
question.
to do with fertility.
The whatever is the question.
Because of our biological wiring.
Right. So the question is the whatever part. Why would he be attracted to the 10 over the 4, even if they have the same values, other than
because
I can't answer that for him because he doesn't answer questions like that.
Do you have daughters?
Like, he literally doesn't answer questions like that.
Do you value like, them and love them based on how physically beautiful they are?
No, of course not.
Why?
Because I'm looking at the value structure of the human being.
So, do you think God judges and values the women, his daughters, based on 1 through 10 of how they look?
No.
No. And what does it say in the Bible about
what does that have to do with what makes a man's dick hard, lady? What does that have to do with what makes a man's penis go up? What God values in a woman or a child, or what you value
in a woman? So you're talking about sin and lust.
No, I'm talking about physical attractiveness.
Okay, that's what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about physical attractiveness. You do realize in order to have a baby, you have to have sex?
Yes, I know, but it also says in the Bible,
That's crazy.
And you're supposed to be Christian to judge a woman based on their heart.
Is a penis required to be hard for you to have sex? Would that require an attractiveness level so that the penis can get hard to have sex to have the baby?
But
how many drinks have you had tonight?
I want to know.
Andrew, have you been drinking?
I don't think.
I really hope the future your future son-in-law.
Andrew?
I really hope your future son-in-laws don't treat your daughters the way you treat and think about women.
I'm pretty sure.
How do I think about women?
Wait.
No, back up.
Virtuous women of Proverbs 31.
Can you help me out? How do I think about women? By saying that there's going to be a physical metric for attractiveness. How is it that I'm in any way deviating from any type of Christian virtue? Tell me.
I mean,
the way you're talking about women in the way you're talking about
about fertility being the standpoint
a
rather
woman's
than
value
attractiveness,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, but Proverbs 31 mentions a whole list of things as opposed to simply just fertility. So God says, and a man wrote that.
Strictly talking about physical attractiveness, and that's it.
But that's not what men decide.
Men
at least my father never told me that that's all that he makes the decision on when he's talking about a woman.
I think what he's saying is that say that there are two women that both fulfill the Proverbs 31 things, but one is less physically attractive and one is more physically attractive. Which would the man go with? Say he wasn't married or anything.
I can't say that he'd pick the 10 because I don't know what the 10 looks like, and I don't know what the 4 looks like. I don't know what the preference is. The 10 may be a 4 and a 4
physical attraction means
someone
nothing.
ungodly like me.
We're not
physical
saying
attraction means nothing. All that matters is what the virtues are. We all go get 9,000 pound. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. We're talking specifically about physical attraction. Of course, it's going to be tied to fertility. Of course, it's going to be tied to fertility. Why wouldn't it be?
You're asking me to think like a man.
No, I'm not. I'm asking me. What females are highly competitive with other women when it comes to mate selection.
No, but that doesn't mean that I know what a man's going to prefer mentally. And you're asking me to answer a question like a man. What one would a man prefer? How would I know that?
Do you have to compete? Do you have to compete with other females for virtuous men?
Maybe, but I'm a female.
So how?
I think like a woman.
And how would you
I
compete?
only know what a man
how
wants
would you
because my
compete with
father
other
told
women?
me.
How would you compete with other women for a virtuous man?
I would ask my father what a man would want.
And what do you think your father would say? Do you think your father would say, "Well, looking like shit would be the best thing you could do"?
No, that's obviously
obviously not.
But that doesn't mean that. All I'm saying is it's not like the only thing. But you can't sit here and ask
nobody
a group
said
of
it's
women
the only thing.
how a man thinks is the best thing. You're not gonna get that response out of them. There's a group of women.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not gonna be thinking
like women don't compete with each other.
But they do not think like men.
Okay, but what's your point?
Men.
Because I agree with your argument. Okay, fertility plays a part in sexual attractiveness. Whatever. What's the point?
The whole point of this was just to state that yes, we understand that there's virtues that men are after. Of course, that's true. There's virtues that women should be after, but nowadays it seems like less and less. But men, I think, are attracted to virtue. I think that is a big role.
Really?
But if we were to take...
Have you seen the rise of OnlyFans?
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But if we were to take virtue...
But women.
If we were to take virtue out... If we were to take virtue out of the equation and just look at the pure physical and just look at physical attractiveness, we're not looking at all the virtues, this and that, just whatever is aesthetically pleasing. That's all we're talking about, physical attractiveness.
I mean, at the end of the day, like any human being is going to value aesthetics. Mm-hmm. You're going to choose the better looking car. The car might have the same engines, it might do the same exact thing, but are you going to choose the one that's all scratched up, or are you going to choose the brand new shiny one? At the end of the day, you want a pretty rock over a cracked up one. So if you're asking that, like, it's just human nature to like something.
Well, this
that's
is why
I think
when this question is asked of women in particular, when they refuse to give a rating, it's because they don't want to be honest. And so what they do is they reframe every way that they can. But what about this quality, that quality, that quality? And it's like, look, we're just talking about physical attractiveness in and of itself. I understand there's other qualities, and maybe even combining those with physical attraction may raise it a point, lower it a point. But I think people still, when it comes to physical attractiveness, it's still tied to fertility. That's why men are attracted to younger women. Why wouldn't that be the case? It makes complete sense. So I don't understand why women are incapable of rating themselves unless they just don't want to give the answer.
Because it's a matter of what do the men perceive as beautiful or attractive, and that can vary from man to man. And then like Keisha was saying, you're asking us to kind of think along.
I don't think women are ignorant to this.
I think that women have a different probably standard for what they think is beautiful and attractive versus men.
And more on
like I think that women would
your skin,
would probably judge aesthetics, and maybe men might judge
looking at
fertility signs.
You would have to look at the standard on both edges, right? So for you to perceive the beauty of women, there's no way for you to say that you wouldn't be influenced on how men perceive women. I don't see how that's.
I would be influenced.
Yeah, of course you would. So I don't think women are ignorant of this.
Asking a woman to delineate that information is asking her to behave like a feminist.
I'm just saying that I think most women.
Right.
You're asking her to be a feminist right now.
I'm not asking her to be a feminist.
Yes, because asking her to delineate the information that a man would tell a woman is asking her to be a feminist and think like a feminist. A woman is not going to assess
feminism
herself.
Doesn't mean can't
think. A woman is not going to assess herself the way that a man assesses a woman.
Didn't ask him to.
You just asked her.
No, I asked her to rate herself based on what she thinks.
Okay, then.
That would be the opposite of what I'm asking her what men think. I'm saying that men have standards.
Okay.
Yes, we know men have standards because men have standards. That is going to inform your opinion on how you rate yourself.
But they're not going to think of it the way that a man would. So you asking her to rate herself
based on what she thinks.
Okay, herself. That's different than to what a man.
Yes, I know, which is why we asked her that.
I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like at the end of the day,
right? It is.
So you can say you're a 10, you can say you're a 1. It doesn't really matter because everybody has a different view on it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So the question that you're asking is, it just doesn't matter in our minds.
Yeah, women, it does not matter.
One guy could rate a girl as a 7, and another guy could rate her as an 8, and another guy could rate her as a 2, and another guy could rate her as a 9, and it depends on what that guy finds attractive.
But wasn't it asking what we thought of ourselves?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's to
gauge,
gauge,
but then for him to say that it's not realistic in the eyes of men. So the point is going to come back.
No, I'm just saying that your self-assessment will be informed also by men. That's the point.
And I think it also shows, are you affected by delusion?
Yes.
Yes.
To just pretend it does not exist and that, I can't
Well, no one said it didn't exist.
I don't know.
That's not the point.
But when people hyper-conflate their looks, well, then they would also expect to possibly match with somebody who they think are their equivalent. But if you're honest with yourself, then you're going to match yourself and not have this hyper-conflated idea of what you're going to go after.
That's understandable. I agree with that.
So that's why they're trying to just gauge a sense of delusion.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. But there was a mention of a man's perspective, and that's all that I said was not possible.
No, the mention of a man's perspective was to say how you end up ultimately determining what your value is, 1 through 10. And it's arbitrary. Nobody says it's not. Is at least somewhat going to be informed and how the opposite sex perceives you and what you've witnessed the opposite sex considering to be attractive or unattractive. That's what's going to be true because that's how information in your brain works.
Internalized male gaze, as said by someone on the right.
No, that's not an internalized.
Yeah, it is. You just argued that we look at ourselves through the male gaze.
I'm saying that we look at. No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You said how do you know you're attractive if you don't use the men's
I said it can assist you in making an informed self-assessment.
It can assist
me. But the same would be true the opposite way. So is that informed female gaze?
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's a female gaze too.
Okay, so then if that's the case, then we're talking about nothing. We're just talking about objective reality.
I know, but some people argue that the male gaze doesn't exist. So.
Well, it depends on how you're defining
women have an internalized
if you just define what the male gaze is,
you have concurred with me that women have an internalized perception of what men think.
Well, it's going to help inform it. There's no way around it.
You know, earlier when you asked me what disadvantages me when I'm born a woman, that.
Okay, but
instantaneously, I have to wake up in the morning and do my
then
makeup.
Why
and get pretty
did you just say men?
Because I have an internalized man.
You just said that men
me.
suffer from the same thing, which means that Again, you just negated your own point.
Yeah, but the one for men value fertility much higher than women do. Do you see men doing their makeup
in the morning
so they look more fertile?
Women.
Yeah.
Women
do because the internalized male gaze is way stronger than the internalized female gaze.
Let's prove it.
I just did.
How?
Women do makeup, women dress way nicer, women do their nails.
And men wear nice clothes, and they try to get high status, and they try to get tons and tons of money, and they try to do all those things.
But that's the female gaze is money, and there are so many.
So what? So I don't understand how it's not moved.
Listen to this. Because of the feminist movement these days, women will go for ugly broke men, but men are not going for ugly women. Obviously, they're
what women are going for ugly broke men? What women are out there going for ugly broke men? Almost none.
The ones with no dads.
That's not what the stat like you. So you go for ugly broke men?
For real, yeah. My ex, yeah. I'm not ashamedly, but my point was, as someone on the right, you admit that women have a male gaze inside of them. They can see how men.
What I'm saying is that
and they internalize the patriarchy.
Human being,
and that internalization is already a negative effect.
What I'm saying is that every
life.
human being who exists, regardless of where they're at in the world, if there's other human beings who are around them, it's going to inform their opinion of themselves and their opinion of the surrounding
But one of them is the full standards of the male gender.
But that would be true the opposite way too, which would make you a misandrist.
No, it is true the opposite way, but I'm saying that the male standards are so much higher than the female standards.
Why? Prove that.
I will.
I will say. Deviate. Where's the proof for that claim?
Okay.
I will say that a lot of male standards.
No. Where's the proof to that claim?
I'd like to hear her speak.
I will say that a lot of male standards are very looks based because the fertility importance is much higher in women, because they're the ones that are carrying a child. And so when that sort of standard lapses as they get older and everything, then it's like, okay, my value just boom. But men
does go boom.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and for men it doesn't.
For men it doesn't because
but it's a trade-off because in younger ages for men,
they don't have as much finances.
Yeah, they don't have as much power in order to attract their mate. So it's a trade-off both ways. So to say that it's more keen in one than the other, you'd have to demonstrate that to me.
It's just, I think it's...
And you have to demonstrate it to me the opposite way.
I think it is more confining when it's just physical.
I wouldn't need to falsify it. I would just negate it.
Do you think that men only pick women to be with or marry based on how high they are on that 1 through 10 numbering system?
No.
No, but
so why is that so important in this topic?
Because I suspect that men who enter into matrimony with a woman want to have children, and in order to do that, they have to be able to perform in the bedroom, and in order to do that, they have to have some semblance of attraction to the person they're having sex with. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. So I don't understand why you asked the question.
Some semblance, but we're not talking about every guy isn't going to marry a 10. Every girl isn't going to marry a 10.
Most guys are never going to marry a 10, and most women are not 10s to marry. So.
Okay, so why use that value if that's not the only thing that people are going to judge when they're choosing a life partner? Why is that so important?
We're not saying that's the only value.
Okay.
We're asking specifically only on the one criteria of the physical. We're not saying that other values don't exist. Tens of thousands of other values exist. All sorts of little nuances and niches exist for different behaviors that you're interested in. We're purely talking about physical attractiveness.
I want you to rate your wife 1 to 10 then.
Okay, as soon as you rate your husband 1 to 10.
No, rate your wife.
As soon as you rate your husband.
Hold on.
You didn't want her to answer questions, and you're going to answer
the question. You went around and you want all these women to rate themselves, right? So rate your wife.
On pure physical attractiveness at her age, my wife is about a 6. Now rate your husband.
I would
do it. Your turn.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't. That's right.
No, I told you I don't use a number.
Distinction between honesty and a liar,
ladies and
gentlemen.
Rate him physically?
Yes,
on
physically only.
Not on my
only physically. Yes.
That's what the rating scale is.
Do it. I just did. Do it. You can't do it.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's right. You're not fucking doing it. Totally dishonest.
No.
Demands it from me, refuses to say it herself.
Because you're the one setting the standard.
My wife's literally watching it, guarantee she's not upset at all, but you can't answer the question honestly.
I think it's a disrespectful question.
Why?
Because I think
because it's true.
That's her own values. If she doesn't want to answer, she doesn't.
Right, but demands that the other person does.
Yeah, because you're the one asking a table full of women to rate themselves.
So, so wait a second. I'm asking a table full of women to make a self-assessment based on pure physical qualities.
Right.
And you say this is an impossibility to begin with. Okay, well, granted. Then you said, fine, I'll call you out. Rate your wife. Okay, I did. Rate your husband. No.
No, I'm not going to rate it.
It's fucking pathetic.
It's not pathetic.
Yeah, it is pathetic.
I think it's disrespectful. So I would be a hypocrite to then rate him on a number system of 1
You're a
through 10.
hypocrite now because you made the demand you yourself won't fulfill.
Right, because my point is it's disrespectful, and I think the fact that you
do you not know,
rating your wife even with that is kind of disrespectful.
Why is it disrespectful? Do you think? How do you think she rates herself? Maybe she rated herself this way 15 times, and I'm using her rating.
Well, I think that's sad.
Why?
Because you should probably rate her a 10. She's your
wife.
What
do you rate yourself? Because you ain't as good looking as she is, honey.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I'm just saying.
That's your opinion.
That's not necessary.
It is necessary.
That's your opinion.
Well, no, this is exactly why I said like the question of rating yourself was from a man's perspective. A woman's not going to answer the way that you want her to, because in the end, the conclusion that you're coming to is not what they're calculating. So it's already an unfair.
It's not unfair.
It is unfair.
Then how come men can make those self-assessments then?
No, I'm not talking about, because what you're asking right now, the line of questioning that you're going down, that the end result is completely different to what is being discussed amongst the women that are answering. And even what you mentioned coming down to, the delusion or whatever, it's like that's not what they're even thinking about. The question is not.
Who's not thinking about that?
The women answering when they're like, what are you rating yourself? They're not thinking about, well, am I delusional? You just asked, what do you rate yourself?
So of course, and they're thinking about that.
And I'm not. Hey, I said 4. I could care less. But the
I
fact
am a 4. So if you get a 6, that's going up, right? That's good.
Yeah, but the fact is, what you're looking the answer for, they're clearly not thinking. And what's being displayed very clearly here is chess versus checkers. Just like I said at the beginning, the outcome that you're looking for is not what's understood in the initial questioning or the response.
What outcome am I looking for?
Well, what you mentioned about the delusions and
I'm saying that's why they asked that question.
I understand that's why they asked the question.
I'm not looking for anything. I just answered the question.
No, but
I wasn't posing
it was
the question.
It was a correct answer. I understand that's where it was going, but I'm saying that's not what's understood in a woman's mind when you ask, what are you rating yourself and why? That's not what that's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't so this is
argument
nonsense.
That's the point. The whole argument here is nonsense.
No, it's not. What you're saying the argument is nonsense.
No, because
tell me what could possibly bar you from giving a self-assessment on what you think your rating is for attractiveness?
Different than the outcome that you're
I know.
Towards.
That's a distinction with no merit. What's barring
everyone
you?
Gave an answer.
No, they didn't. But what's barring you from giving an assessment of your own personal attractiveness? Nothing.
Everyone gave an assessment of their personal attractiveness.
No.
Save Millie, I think.
Yeah. So then everybody. So then that would not be everybody then.
Okay, except for Millie.
Yeah, except for the person who didn't. Who you said it's impossible for her to do it.
I never said it's impossible for her
technically I could throw out a random
impossible
number.
for her to rate herself.
I said
the outcome you're looking
decide.
for at the end of the whole line of questioning is not where their mind's going to go. So ultimately, at the end of the day, every answer is going to seem delusional. They're not looking at.
They don't all seem delusional.
Well, a lot of the times it does, or is.
What does that have to do with anything?
Just like I said, it's not the same line of thinking.
It is the same line of thinking. I don't understand. What's the distinction between a man giving a self-assessment and a woman giving a self-assessment?
The reason is different.
What is the reason?
Well, you're talking about the fertility and the physicality or whatever, like being attractive and things like that.
The same reasoning that women would have.
Actually, that's not what was said earlier.
No. What's being said is they tried to displace the actual question and say, I'm going to go for everything except what is physical.
Women don't think like that.
No, they do think like that. One thing women do think like is how attractive am I? Yes, they do.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. That's not.
It is what you're talking about.
No, because that is not what I'm talking about.
Then what are you talking about?
That's not how they gauge attractiveness. A lot of women will gauge attractiveness based on how they feel, or what they think benefits them emotionally or mentally or whatever. It's not just physicality.
Yes, but we're asking the question of pure physicality, and I don't think that women are so irrational they can't answer the question based on that.
That has nothing to do with irrationality. And everybody answered, like I said, except for Millie. What I'm saying is the end result that you're looking for.
And do you think
is
you were
not the
accurate?
same.
Do you think you were accurate in your assessment?
That has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
Oh, well, it has something to do with what I'm saying. Do you think you were accurate with your
You're
assessment?
deflecting from what I'm talking
I'm
about.
not deflecting at
saying
all.
that
I'm
your
asking a
end
direct
result has
question.
nothing to do
Do
with
you
the
think your
initial
assessment
question.
was accurate?
I'm not a man. I don't know how a man would rate me. You can ask your audience.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
care.
Fine.
It has.
So you don't
to-
know?
I said 4. I stand by 4.
Okay.
I don't care.
Do you, and
like
do you
I
think
said.
it's accurate?
Doesn't matter if I think it's accurate or not. A man might agree.
Why
a
would
man
you
might
give a
disagree.
number if you don't think it's accurate?
That's not what I said. I said
That is what you said.
I gave a 4. I stand by 4. I said if a man agrees, I'm not going to. I don't know if a man's going to agree or not. He might agree. He might not agree.
But you gave the
I
number,
said-
so clearly you think the number's accurate, right?
I said 4.
Do you think that's accurate? Because
I
if
said what I
you
said.
don't think it's accurate, why would you give the number?
I said.
Would
what
you
I
rather
said.
she not give one at all?
I don't get it.
Oh my god.
Like, I don't actually
Like I
understand the
said-
conversation
I said,
at this
no,
point.
you're deflecting from the initial point here, which is that you asked a question that you know women will answer differently based on how they feel and are going in a completely different direction in the end about something completely different that men portray in a different way.
Yeah, but the
mentally.
question becomes, is it because they're being honest or not? Or if it's
No, it
really
has a
because they're
complete-
just
it's a different
irrational
line
like
of
you're
thinking.
claiming?
It's a completely different line of thinking, and it doesn't matter if
Nobody says that they're not thinking about it along different lines, but that doesn't mean that they're still not being dishonest or they're being honest.
how are they being dishonest about what they
Because
feel?
I've seen 250-pound fat obese whales sitting right there saying they're
Is
tense.
anybody here 250
Again,
pounds?
and now you're deflecting.
No,
But
it's
that just goes to
the
show-
women here right
You're
now.
not.
That just goes to
I don't
show
think he's
how
talking about you,
pointless
Renee.
the question
I don't think
is.
he's talking about you.
I'm
Because
saying
you
I've
could
seen
say any
I've seen
number.
those women do that, and clearly they're being dishonest. And when questioned, it's obvious they're being dishonest. That's why.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
basing our argument right now based on
Yes.
previous
Are you
assessments of
asking
other
them
people
You
as
mean
opposed to
how-
the women in
opinion
front
of
of you?
ourselves
Well, it's an empirical
or men's
question.
appearing?
It's an
See,
empirical
no, this is
question,
the
so-
this is the contradiction.
Tell us the
No,
problem.
but then he just
There's no
said
contradiction.
Tell us
you're
the
being
problem.
dishonest.
No, I didn't say you're being dishonest.
No, you did. You
no,
literally
no, I
said
didn't.
no.
Literally
you
never said
said
anybody's being dishonest.
a woman sitting there looking like a whale, rating herself 10, and you're saying she's being dishonest.
We through inquiry, I said
Right.
through inquiry, we discovered she was
Right.
being dishonest. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You
What do you
understand the
mean by
distinction
through
there?
inquiry?
Like I asked a bunch of questions and she answered them and came to the conclusion she was being dishonest.
He inquired.
Okay. So she was
There
the
was-
one who
there
said,
was an
"Oh
inquiry.
no, I'm not
He
valued."
inquired.
Yeah, well, she literally said
There was an inquisition.
She said,
You could even
"Okay,
say there's an
physically,
inquisition.
yes, it's true. I'm blah, right? But emotionally, I'm a 10, or metaphysically, I'm a 10, or whatever." Yes, through inquiry,
Inquisition.
it was discovered that
That's
she was
been
not
secret.
being very honest. Yes.
Well, that's. I think that men are going to be the best judges of how attractive they find women at the end of the day.
okay.
Well, we got a chat here from Alex. Alex says, "I enjoy your Christian views." Oh, hey, AB Check. Thank you for the gifted 20 memberships. Appreciate it, man. Andrew, but you lose me when you start acting petty, ignorant, and belittling of these women. If you want your message to be heard, is this tone policing? I don't know. The delivery matters.
Stop simping, Alex.
Dude, chill out.
Stop simping, Alex.
He has
Room
is
full
that
of,
Mary?
It's a room full of crazy feminists. Let's see you do better.
I'm not a feminist.
Yes, you're a feminist.
I am absolutely
oh,
not
you
a feminist.
absolutely are a feminist.
No, I'm not.
You're an egalitarian,
I am not a
vote
feminist.
harder feminist,
I am not a
libertarian.
feminist.
Yes,
no, I'm
you
not.
are.
I'm not a feminist.
Then what is feminism?
Wait, can
I'm
I
not a
ask you a
feminist.
question?
Here, let's. No, are we
I
having
don't know,
an
I'm not a
argument?
feminist.
Sit there.
Please.
While we have the argument, go
You
ahead.
I'm a
define it.
woman.
I'm not a feminist.
Where did Maddie go?
So I'll agree with her definition. Feminism is the movement
I'm not a
towards.
feminist. Don't even go there.
I'm-
You don't get to say what I am.
I just
and
did.
I'm not.
I just did.
Yeah,
it's
well,
the
you're
movement
lying.
towards egalitarianism between men and women inside society. How do you delineate from that?
I have a question. Do you think that
no.
Okay.
Anyway, so back to this. How do you delineate from that?
Anyway.
Zip it.
How do you delineate from that?
I'm not answering your question.
Yeah, that's right.
You
You're
literally
right.
just made a false claim against
I'll
me
make
that
it
I'm
again.
a feminist and I'm not.
If
so
you are a feminist,
No.
if you okay, so I'll define
you're a purple
feminism.
penguin.
I'll define feminism.
Penguin.
yeah, I mean he's just making things
Then
up.
let's
so I
let's have the
cannot-
argument. The delineation, or we'll allocate feminism
let's
this way.
not bring aquatic animals
Yeah.
into this
Yeah.
conversation. Go ahead, Andy.
A feminist
I'm pretty sure
and
you're
feminism
saying you're a
is
woman,
the
right?
movement towards the egalitarian equality of men and women. How do you differ from a feminist?
Because I'm not. I don't believe in feminism.
That doesn't tell me anything. How do you differ from the movement of egalitarianism? That's not antithetical to feminism.
Right. I'm not a feminist.
So how do you delineate from the movement of the egalitarianism between men and women?
If you think she's wrong, why don't you provide solutions?
Why don't you let us have the argument without interjecting? Go ahead.
Because men provide solutions.
And women be silent while they do. Go ahead.
Submit.
I've not heard you provide a single solution.
I think it's hilarious.
The solution is to, I did multiple times. I already said we should limit suffrage. We should limit the women's right to vote. We should do all sorts of different things. I gave tons of solutions. You just have a selective memory because you are interjecting again when there's an argument that doesn't even include you. Go ahead.
I'm not a feminist. I just
Okay, so how do you differ from this ideology?
You don't get to define what I am and am not.
I get to define what feminism
no, you don't.
is.
This isn't some
then give me a
gender
definition.
stuff where you
Then
get
give
to
me a
pick and
definition of
choose
feminism. What is it?
What I am.
Fine. Then what is the definition of feminism? How do you differ
I don't
from
know
it?
because I'm not a feminist.
You don't.
I'm not a feminist.
Wait a second. What's
know what a feminist is if you don't know the definition?
Is that a cup? How do you know you're not a cup? That makes no sense. How do you differ from feminists in ideology if it's the movement towards the egalitarian equality of men and women? Yeah, it's just nothing.
I'm not a feminist. I already told you.
I know.
I don't believe. I believe in traditional roles, man and woman, marriage.
And if a transgender was sitting where you are, they would be like, "I'm not a man. I'm a woman."
No, that's not. Look, it's not even the same. I don't even understand how you're.
It is exactly the same. So how do you delineate that?
Claiming I'm something.
Okay, so I'll just ask again, so that I don't strawman any positions. Do you agree that feminism is the movement of egalitarianism between men and women?
You're wrong because the goal of feminism is to reach full equality.
Not arguing
that is
with
not
you.
what
One
she
at
wants.
a time, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
The which is actually crazy.
I still don't see how you are the one who made a claim.
$200.
Here's the thing. You made a claim.
You are a feminist.
No.
Wait. Just let
Almost all of your talking
And I
points
backed my
have
claim up
been-
with the definition. And said you
I
don't
am not a
delineate from the...
feminist.
Okay, well then give me a counter definition how you delineate from it.
Just because you think a woman should be able to vote doesn't mean you're a feminist.
Okay, great. Feminism, do you agree, is the movement of egalitarianism between men and women or not?
I would say yes.
Okay,
Probably.
how do you delineate from that? That's what I thought.
She wants the preservation of social norms for men and women.
That's what I thought.
And that is not what feminists want.
I do.
There's a little
I
cigarette
think
break.
I do.
No,
need a
no,
break after that
I
one.
think that. Good Lord. I think that for you to sit there and just claim I'm something I'm not is
You just did.
disrespectful.
I just said, is that
It's
the definition?
condescending.
You said yes. I said, how do you delineate? Nothing.
Yeah, because you didn't give me a chance to
Okay, I'll give you a
respond.
chance.
You didn't give me a chance to
Okay, I'm
respond.
giving you a chance.
Okay, because you don't know all of my belief sets.
Okay, give me the belief set that delineates from that.
on marriage, on gender roles, on the role of a man
Still
and a woman
waiting for
in
the belief
relationships.
delineation. What is it?
Okay. What?
Waiting for that delineation from feminism. What is it?
He's asking you how you deviate from that.
How do I deviate from feminism?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I believe that, women should be mothers and prioritize a motherhood role over a career, and that's one thing I think that feminists would probably disagree with.
Okay, but you would also agree that there's many feminists who would agree that that's just fine if mothers want to prioritize that.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay, so what actually delineates your ideology from the feminist ideology of egalitarianism?
That women should submit to their husbands.
That women should submit to their husbands.
Mhm.
Okay, and are
if
they...
their husbands submit to first to God.
Okay.
Mhm.
So maybe there's... If that's true, and we'll get into that next.
Mhm.
Now this is more interesting. So when you say submission, what do you mean?
They should submit to their husbands.
What does that mean?
Like, they should trust their husband's judgment in the home, and basically, to a certain degree, they should trust his judgment and allow him to make some of the decisions. But I think that it kind of becomes one of the things where it's not that the woman doesn't have a say, but it's that they should submit to the husband.
What if
because
he
knows
says, no, you have no say?
Well, I guess the thing you'd have to think about is his decision making in line with what God says and what the Bible says.
Well, the Bible says to submit to him.
If it's something that would
That's what it says,
Well,
right?
well, here's an example. If your husband said that you should go and say do it on OnlyFans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that a woman should submit to that?
Well, that wouldn't be an actual Christian marriage at that point, right?
Right. So at that point, he would be
But if you're in
deviating
a
from
Christian,
what God's law
if you're in
is. So
a
a woman
Christian
should
marriage,
not, in that case,
yeah. If you're in a
submit.
Christian marriage, though, he's a Christian, you're a Christian.
Right.
He's not going to be asking you to do OnlyFans.
Right.
Okay, so should you submit even if he?
As long as what he's saying is in line with God,
well,
yes,
let's say he
absolutely.
says
with the Bible, with teachings.
Let's say he
absolutely.
says something like this. Let's say he comes to you, and you guys are discussing finances, and he goes, "Actually, we're just going to do everything this way, and I don't give a shit what you have to say about it. And I'm emptying out your account tomorrow, and I'm going to do what I want with the money, and you need to just deal with it." Are you going to just shut up and take that?
I already let my husband do what he wants with my account, so.
Right now, do you have your own account?
It's a joint. He's on it, and he does whatever he wants to it.
Okay, well, maybe there's a slight deviation then, which is that you'll allow for some sort of submission.
Allow for him to look at my phone. I look at his phone. I can do. He can do whatever he wants on my accounts.
Do you think that women should be forced to submit in marriage?
I think that women should always be able to some degree, have the right to choose and have a right of consent. Basically, a man shouldn't be able to force himself on a woman.
Yeah, of course not.
A man shouldn't be like, basically, if a man's like, I want to have, you know what, tonight, and she's like, no, she has a right to say no, right? She has a right to choose.
Do you believe that there's implied consent in a marriage?
What do you mean? Like
your husband rolls over in the morning and you're still asleep and he plows you.
The fuck?
Were you SA'd?
No.
No.
But if you,
so
but
there's
if
an
you
implied
were saying,
consent?
Legally, there's already implied consent.
in the law.
If you were saying no, stop, then I would say that it was rape.
Okay.
As soon as a woman it's implied consent. As soon as a woman says no, it's no longer consent, right?
Okay.
Can I just ask, how do y'all's view of feminism influence your expectations for dating and marriage and all that sort of stuff?
Also, I'll tie this one up with this.
Wait, really quick. I'm not going to let you get away with it because you called me a feminist.
You are a feminist.
How am I a feminist?
Yeah, because the only thing that you could come up with, and by the way, feminists
you can't just make blanket claims like that.
Feminists who make claims that they're Christians will also make a claim for submission. They'll say, I'll do it within the context of religiosity. But when it comes to society itself, you want to see the egalitarian movement of men and women, and you've said it over and over and over and over.
I did not say that.
Okay, well then give me a deviation, which is not personal, but is a societal prescription.
A societal prescription. Here's what I'll say. I would say that my belief set as far as relationships go is very traditional in that I totally believe in the dynamics of the man fulfilling the male role, the woman fulfilling the female role, and those being very defined in that.
But feminists can believe that too. It has nothing to do with an egalitarian prescription for society. What sorts of things do you think, as far as egalitarianism in society, would you move away from when it comes to men and women under the law or under any type of social patriarchy? Like, here's a good example. Do you support a patriarchy?
Yes.
Yes?
To a certain degree, yeah.
What does that mean, though? A certain degree.
I believe that men should be allowed to be masculine and fully embrace their masculinity.
Patriarchy means men are in charge.
I believe in traditional roles.
Yeah.
Patriarchy
means
chivalry.
Patriarchy means the father, right? Mm-hmm. Men are in charge.
Yes.
That's what it means. So if men are in charge and women can't be in charge, is that okay with you?
I don't think that that's how it naturally happens in the nuclear family unit, though, to a certain degree, because women do have say in matter. They do have a say in matters. It's not that a woman never has a say in any matter.
Do you think a woman should be able to be president? I feel like that's kind of what he's asking. President or just a large leadership role, something like that, right?
Is that what you're asking?
Are you saying that all women? This is my question. Are you saying that all women?
He's asking legally what we can't do that men can.
My question is, so you're saying, okay, so not only should women not vote, but they shouldn't be able to hold any type of a job They shouldn't be able to hold any political positions.
Political positions, no.
Okay, so why would they be expected to work and provide, which is a role that a male is supposed to perform for his family, but not be able to vote?
We don't expect them to work inside of a patriarchal system.
Okay, so you're saying the women should be allowed to work, though?
They should be allowed to work. That doesn't mean that they should have to work.
Okay, so how is that not a feminist belief then?
How is that a feminist belief? Because I'm telling you that I endorse a patriarchal system. Patriarchal systems traditionally have protected women.
If women are working, though, wouldn't that be considered the job of the man?
Work. There could be interests that they have. Or they might need a little part-time cash or something like this. But if you contracted 50% of the workforce, which would be female tomorrow, wages would fucking skyrocket, and I guarantee you men would be making a lot more money. So the question becomes, if you're inside of a patriarchal system, the patriarchy itself is in charge. Women can't hold political office at all. They say, no, you're not allowed to hold political office, which was the tradition of the United States. No, you're not allowed to vote, which was the tradition of the United States. What's your problem with that?
Well, you realize that the United States is a corporation, right?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. That's some sovereign citizen bullshit.
No, it actually is a corporation.
No, it's not a corporation.
It is a corporation.
What type of corporation?
It is a corporation.
What type of corporation? What? Is it an S corp? Is it an S corporation?
Oh gosh. Okay, so what I'm getting at here is, so women should be able to work and fulfill roles at corporations and at jobs, but they shouldn't be able to.
I said can, not should.
They shouldn't be able to fulfill a political role in office.
Can is different than should. You realize this, right?
So
if I say should, that means ought to do. If I say can, means capable of. So yes, women should be capable of working and should be able to work if they choose to work. It doesn't mean they should work. There's a distinction between those two words. When you're living inside of a patriarchal society, what would your actual problem with a patriarchal society be, or do you have none?
My actual deviation would just be more along the lines of traditional nuclear family roles.
Why would that not exist inside of a patriarchal
system?
Because
that's not what we're seeing today. We're seeing the feminist movement of today. We're seeing women pushing for, young girls to never get married, to just stay sexually promiscuous and just go get a job in gender studies.
I thought you said we live in a benevolent patriarchy where you guys allow us to vote. Yes, you did.
I said the best thing about a benevolent patriarchy is that they don't use the enforcement arm to oppress you.
Saying the best thing about something implies that it exists.
I'll get back to you.
You just told me stop talking in the middle of my conversation
until I finish this. Anyway, go ahead.
By 19-year-olds.
Oh my gosh. This is ridiculous.
Here, let's move on. We got to move on, guys. We got other things to talk about.
I contacted Andrew for this debate because of a debate that I saw him engage in with a feminist named Farah. In that debate, I thought Andrew said some kind of funny things, and Andrew can correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist of it was he didn't believe women should have a right to vote due to them not being able to protect their rights or fight for their rights as men can. Now, as far as rights being granted to women, it is true. The reason rights are granted to women is because men have decided to grant them rights. It's also true that society at large has decided to grant gay people rights, trans people rights, black people rights, gingers rights, disabled people rights. Rights are dependent on them being granted. So this is true for not only groups, but also individuals. The reason that any particular person, including Andrew, has any rights is because, again, most of the people that he comes into contact with and society at large has decided to grant him rights. So I don't see how that's unique, a unique aspect of women as a group, that rights are granted to them. Rights have to be granted to everybody. And as far as their ability to fight for their rights, I don't see how women have a lack of ability to fight for their rights, as they certainly have, not only in the women's suffrage movement, but we see women have engaged in warfare. We have seen women support war efforts. And I also don't understand how that relates to voting. So I'd like Andrew to explain some of this. because there are certainly people who have no ability to fight, period, let alone fight for their rights. I mean, there's mentally disabled people, there's physically disabled people, and there's physically disabled people who are mentally disabled, who in no way can make arguments in support of the idea of their rights. They cannot physically fight for their rights, yet we grant them rights, and they also have a right to vote. So I'd like to hear some of this kind of explained and broken down by Andrew, and that is my opening statement.
Thank you, good sir. Riveting. Excellent setup for a glorious duel. Andrew, your response. You have 7 minutes.
Yeah, so let's kind of dive into this. First, you say that you believe a woman having a right to vote based on, you said something along the lines of, I don't understand how it is that a woman doesn't have the right to vote just because a man hasn't allowed her to have that right to vote, which to me seems kind of absurd, because you then went on to say, yes, it's true that men grant women rights. Now, I think you were trying to make the statement that you think society, which is everybody and nobody and anybody and somebody, grants rights to everybody. But this would actually be inaccurate. So the first thing that you said is society at large has granted the X factor's rights. So the X factor would be basically everybody that's not a dominant man, right? It'd be gays as a marginalized group, black as a marginalized group, things like this. But that's also not true. Men granted them rights. That was men who granted them rights, and men can take those rights away from those groups whenever they so choose. And they do all the time. They've done it all over the world. They've taken rights away from gays, and there's nothing gays can do about it. They take rights away from women. There's nothing women can do about it. They take rights away from people all the time as a dominant social group. You say that rights have to be granted. This is also not true, or at least it's only a half truth. Men can grant themselves rights. If they get enough of them together, they can decide that even if they're being oppressed, that they don't want to be oppressed anymore. They don't like that shit very much, and they can take up arms and grant themselves rights, and have done that historically many, many, many times. So no, men don't have to necessarily grant other men their rights. That's the point. Whereas they do have to grant it to women. They have to, because women can't do that and men can. The women's suffrage movement, which you brought up, that was not women fighting for their rights. That was women whining for their rights. There was no fight anywhere. Where was the fight? Where were these women taking up arms? Where were they bashing the men over the head? Where were they taking the men on? Where were they taking on the patriarchy with hands, feet, fist, and gun? Nowhere. They were just whining, and they were heavily supported by men's funding, or it never would have happened to begin with. So no, they've never fought for their rights ever. They've just whined. They don't fight. They can't fight. What are they going to do? They can't do anything. To men as a collective can simply put their foot down on women whenever they so choose, even as a small collective. Even if they're outnumbered 10-1, they can still do this. We've seen this in France, for instance, in World War II, where 2/3 of the population post-World War II was completely and totally devastated. You only had 1/3 or less. Some estimates as low as 19% of the population was men. That's how low the estimate in some cases could be, because of how many died between World War I and World War II. So no, I disagree kind of heavily with all of your positions. Now, when it comes to kind of your main contention, which is voting in and of itself, I don't consider it to be necessarily evil or a moral good or a moral imperative of any kind. I think it's just one system of many systems, but still men are going to be the ones who create that system and grant that system to women. So that's my position on this.
Okay, so do you believe women should have a right to vote?
Real quick, before we get in the back and forth, just want to say a couple of things. Thank you for the opening statement, Andrew. Here in the Crucible, we do things a little bit differently. I, as the moderator, will not be getting involved. And just officially, for the FBI agent and agent of Mossad watching, I do not endorse anyone's perspective on here. I am merely moderating for the sake of discussion. We'll go for an hour and a half, back and forth, and then we'll take questions and super chats. I will not be reading the super chats until the Q&A. But until then, good luck, guys.
All right. Go ahead, man. What was your question?
Yeah. So do you believe women should have a right to vote or not?
If men grant it to them. I mean, I don't think that women, I don't think that men ought to do horrible or evil things to women. I don't think that they ought to do that. But I also think that they're in a particularly unique situation due to the fact that they make society run, and they're the operators which make society run, where that's going to be uniquely their decision to make.
Okay, but the basis for whether or not you think women should have a right to vote is whether or not men decide to give them a right to vote.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so say if men had an interest in the political system to vote for, say, repealing women's rights.
Yeah.
You don't think women should have any sort of political power in a system where they can also vote and influence political change for their own benefit?
Well, it's more correct to say that they wouldn't. And it's not a matter of what I would, what I would ought. It's just a matter of they could not. So whether I would ought it to be true or not ought it to be true, what descriptively is true is that they can't. They can't stop men from taking away their rights. They just can't do it. They have
right, but you did say that you're against the idea of doing horrible things to women, right? So like,
yeah, and men.
In theory, you'd be against something like spousal grape.
I mean, it depends on how that's defined, but I mean, in general, any type of grape I would be against. Yeah.
Well, like strangling somebody, forcing yourself upon them, you'd be against something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I believe still to this day, there's a few states that don't actually recognize spousal rape. So, right. So women would be,
and so men, if they wanted to, could go into those states with guns, and they could say, "You're going to change this fucking law," right? But women can't. Vegan gains, they can't do that. That's the distinction. No, they can't.
They can. So they can.
No, they can't. Can you name a single time in history where they have? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the women's suffrage movement, in France in particular, women actually grabbed pole arms. So not just pitchforks, but also they got things like halberds and spears, and they actually marched and demanded a right to vote. Bombs and what is it? Fires were also set on businesses during the women's suffrage movement.
How many men did women kill for their rights in France?
Well, I don't know how that matters, because really, ultimately,
because if the men in France said, "No, fucking put your poles down, you stupid bitches, or else we're going to smack the shit out of you," they couldn't do anything, Richard.
Well, so not every right that's fought for requires like extreme physical violence. Like,
it does.
Like an entire
it always
world
requires
war.
force.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, how do you back up rights without force, Richard? Tell me.
Well, I'm saying not every right that is being granted has required a world war.
Well, first of all, I think depending. I'm trying to figure out what you mean, but I think it has. I think every single right you have requires force. I can't think of a right that doesn't require force to be enforced. Can you?
Well, to be enforced, yes, but I'm saying to be granted, no.
Yeah, to be granted, because, and I'll tell you why that has to be true. Because if you grant a right to a person, what actually gives them the right if there's no force? So how could they keep the right if there's no force allowing them to keep the right? In other words, if I say, no, wife, you don't have any fucking rights. She can call men and they can come arrest my ass using force. So force is the mechanism for rights.
So you have a right to free speech, like the First Amendment. How many times have you seen police interactions where police officers violate First Amendment rights? So somebody's protesting, they say you can't have that sign here, they get arrested. Well, how does this play out? This plays out in court. I don't think there's ever been a situation where I don't know, like there's a shootout over whether or not somebody can hold a sign up. Between a cop and other cops.
Well, okay, there has been, except I can give you a perfect distinction, which is the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. These are distinctions where people said, no, we're not going to, pay maybe your tax or your tariff, or we don't want this type of compelled speech, or we don't want to be oppressed in our speech in these ways. various factors came into all sorts of small micro revolutions. In fact, another example that I can give you, I believe that it was called the Battle of Athens, which happened inside of America. This was an American city. And the police magistrate was so corrupt that men went home and got their guns and went back to town and literally overthrew the local magistrate and put in their own government. So in other words, when they felt oppressed, they could just go do something about it. I would like to see an example of that by women anywhere in history ever.
Okay, so I don't know of any again, aside from like women's suffrage, where women did actually in fact take up arms, at least in Europe.
Well, they carried shit. That's not taking up arms. Taking up arms,
that's the same.
No,
that's
taking up arms is you're like actually walking down the street and killing people. That's taking up arms against something.
Okay, well, in that example you just gave, were people shot and murdered?
Yeah. In fact, there was a massive shootout. They raided the National Guard armory and they had a battle all night.
Okay, in any case, like ultimately, if you have enough of a societal disruption to where the only sort of the only way to resolve this is either by, again, granting rights or coming to, I don't know, some fight and literally having force decide whether or not rights will, like, who gets the rights they want. Women have done this, like, again, women's suffrage. It's just that men decided it's not worth it to actually take up arms against women and fight. No, that's absolutely what happened.
Here's what happened. Most women were against the vote. Most women, let me say that again, were against the vote. Most of them. So you had anti-suffragettes, which aren't covered in history very often, but the anti-suffragette movement was much higher, and feminists used feminist propaganda, and they used the money of giant elite men in order to push through the agenda. And it still wasn't even popular after it passed. It still wasn't even popular after it passed for a long while. And you want to know what the reasoning is behind the anti-suffragettes, the women who were against the right to vote, is they said, we can't enforce our own rights. We don't have the ability to do that. So why should we be able to vote? Why would we be able to vote? We can't enforce it. Men have to enforce it for us.
When you say that, like, what do you mean by women cannot enforce their own rights? Like,
it means that as a small monolith of any size, virtually any size, there could be like some maybe extreme examples, but if you have, let's just say 10% of the men of a population who decide that they're not going to follow or obey a law, or they're going to oppress women, or they're going to do whatever the fuck they want, there's really not very much that can be done about it by anybody except men. So men are going to be the people who push force, and therefore they're the ones who are the grantor of rights, either to themselves or to women or to anybody. So you could take the same tone in slavery. You could say that men granted men rights, men fought for their right to not be slaves. All of this would be true, but women play very little in the way of a role of that because they just physically can't.
What do you mean physically can't? Like, women can pick up a gun and shoot. So what do you mean physically can't?
Yeah, but have you seen what happens in the statistics when you take female soldiers and you apply the statistical or the standard, the application standard for just regular basic training, and have women go through it? They have to give them entirely different standards because their upper body strength is so slight. Their lower body strength can't handle it. They have completely different standards, which is why to this day, I don't believe there's even been a single woman who has gotten through actual SEAL team training. Not a single one. And this is the difference between men and women. Now, you operate under physique. You know this is true. You know that you're ginormously strong in comparison to women. Just the amount of weapons that you could wield would be superior to what a woman could.
I've seen, so I don't know if the Army's done their own research. I've seen the research on Marines. The Marine Corps did a study comparing female and male, soldiers. Yeah, women are less physically capable, so they can't carry as much equipment. I think it's like a difference of like 30 pounds or something like that of total equipment they can carry. They're also more likely to get injured, this and that, but like, again, there are like within group differences where you can find exceptionally physically fit women and exceptionally like inadequate men. So you do in these like stats see women who are outpacing some men.
I don't
like
dispute that.
Like I've known dudes who are like 5'5".
There are exceptionally strong women, and there are exceptionally weak men.
Like at the end of the day, the Marine Corps did determine that it is suitable, especially in cases where like certain combat roles can't be filled because we have a huge obesity problem. Like the amount of eligible recruits is really narrow, and especially in a situation where you're not going to have forced conscription, it's going to be very difficult to fill all the necessary combat roles.
True, but their preference would be that men filled those roles and not women.
Well, that would be the preference, but it'd also be the preference.
But why would it be the preference?
Like again, well,
why would it be the preference, Richard?
Why? Wait. Well, let me finish. It would also be a preference to have women fill these roles as opposed to obese men.
Yeah, that's true.
So, do you think fat people shouldn't have a right?
There's
to
plenty of
vote
fat women, but there's plenty of fat women too. Like I mean, in equal numbers. So they're the only reason they're drawing
have the right to vote.
The only reason they're drawing from women is because there's not enough men. That's it. And the other thing is that the preference here is always going to be for men. Why, Richard? Why is it always going to be for men over women when it comes to the military?
Men on average are more physically fit,
right? Because fighting isn't just about picking up a gun. Fighting is also about living in trenches. It's about having very little to eat. It's about being physically strong enough to endure the elements. It's about a lot more than just, oh, I picked up a gun and now I could go fight for my rights. That's not how it fucking goes.
Yeah, well, again, like you're kind of glossing over this. There are requirements for the military. Like you can't just be like a fat retard and end up, joining the military. There are certain physical and mental standards. And at the moment, there are so few men that meet those physical and mental requirements that we're now recruiting massive amounts of women more than ever before to fill combat roles.
Yeah, but there's still very few women who can meet those requirements. There's still very few women who can meet those requirements, even with all these fat men around. So it's still always going to be unequally yoked to the point of extremity, unless you can demonstrate that men or that women, even going up against unhealthy men when they're at their fittest, are going to prevail, because most of the time, even then, they're not going to. So even if a woman who's 5'5" and jacked goes up against a 6'2" fat dude, I'm still putting my money on the 6'2" fat dude, and so are you. You are too. Tell me you're not. Tell me you're not, dude. But for the most part, on average, you would, right?
Like again, that depends. I've seen MMA fights where like a man goes up against a woman, but the woman is about the same size.
Yeah, come on, these people aren't trained in MMA, dude. But these people aren't. Most people are not trained in hand-to-hand combat and years of training in MMA. That's ridiculous. The average woman who would have to fight for her rights against a monolith of men, even if they were big fat men, okay, big fatty fatzos. Women are 5'5", 5'6", 5'7". You're telling me you think that physically they're going to do better against men?
But the point that you're glossing over is that there's many men who are completely inequipped or inadequate to either fight in the military or even fight for their rights.
There's just as many women. So again, you still have the equalization. You still have the equalization.
I don't understand why you're looking at this from a group level and not, to some extent at least, at an individual level. Like, should people who are
that would be the worst way to look at it. Because an individual, no individual can enforce their rights for the most part. They can only do it on a small scale, maybe against other individuals. But it takes a collective, or at least a small group, to be able to enforce the rights for themselves and the people who are around them. Individuals themselves, they have a hard time enforcing their individual rights. In other words, it's essentially impossible to do. So if there was one woman who said, I want the right to vote, and nobody else wanted her to have the right to vote, you would agree with me immediately. She ain't getting the fucking right to vote, right? Sure. So, I mean, that's just it. But if you have, so we would have to look at this as collective. Same thing with men. If one man wants the right to vote, he ain't getting it. But if you have 100 million men who want the right to vote, they're fucking getting it.
Okay, so is this purely a descriptive claim you're making, or are you also making this a sort of a normative claim where it's almost like a might makes right? Like, because there is such an amount of power within a certain group, they should be able to either grant or taketh rights away.
Right. No. So let me explain this. Might makes right is fundamentally, from my Christian worldview, untrue. I think that might descriptively makes. I'm just not saying that it ought make right. In other words, I don't think that just because you're mighty and you enforce your will, that means you're doing a moral thing, or you're doing a righteous thing, or you're doing a good thing. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And going back a bit, you don't think it's either a good or bad thing that men grant women's rights? You're like neutral on it?
Well, no, I mean, I think I would have to descriptively say that because this is the hierarchical order, which is put forward by our almighty creator, that it's probably a good thing. And yes, I do think that it's generally a good thing for the hierarchy to be run by men. Yeah. And it always has been, and it always will be.
So you think it's a good thing that women don't have a right to vote?
If men decide that they don't have a right to vote and they do it as a collective, I think that, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Why would that be a problem?
Okay, well, for quite a long time, and even to this day, in some states and in probably most countries, women have absolutely no recourse if they are raped by their husbands. There's no laws granting them a protection against something like that, like that sort of spousal abuse.
That's not true.
That is true.
No, it's not true.
That is true.
Then show me an example of where you can pin your wife down by force and rape her, and this is not something which she can go and get recourse from the law. I don't believe you.
Well, again, there's no particular law written on the books in certain states stating that a woman can be raped by their spouse. And actually, and by the way,
well, that's an affirmative right. In the United States, rights are affirmed in the negative. So in other words, to frame this the best way I can for you, you don't have a right to vote right now, Richard. Did you know that? Your right to vote is affirmed in the negative. You have no right to vote. You've never had a right to vote. What the amendment says specifically is that if a vote is had, they have to let you vote. But there's no actual right to vote. You can look it up right now. There's no actual right to vote in the United States. Your rights here are affirmed in the negative. In other words, our Constitution only spells out what the government can't do. It doesn't spell out what it must do. So it can't restrict our guns. It can't restrict our speech. It can't restrict this. It can't do this. It's not allowed to do that. It's not allowed to do this. It doesn't say what it has to do.
Let me look this up real quick.
Yeah, just put in voting negative rights. Voting is a negative right.
Only 2 states, Oregon and New Jersey, have abolished the marital exemption rule. The legal system of most countries exempt the husband from prosecution of the rape of his wife. This is from Office of Justice Programs.
So that's an affirmative right. But so what? I need you to demonstrate for me that in all 50 states of the union, that if a woman goes to the police, and just don't use the R word, say grape.
Sure.
Okay. But if she goes to the police and says, I was raped by my husband, he pinned me down and forced me into a sexual intercourse, that she has no recourse. I don't believe that.
Okay, well, for one thing, there are many, many women that you can find. You can put out a call on your Twitter, or whatever social media.
It's anecdotal, and you don't believe them yourself, Richard, because I saw a video. I saw a video of you yourself make the claim that a woman had lied about getting raped.
Women can lie.
That's right. So you yourself don't believe all women. You don't believe all women, right?
No, I believe people based on the strength of evidence of their claim. I
think that's fair.
We don't even by the way, even if you fucking don't believe that there's been a single case of a woman getting raped by their husband and having no recourse.
That's not what I said.
And well, we can literally look at other countries who, on the books, like Islamic countries.
Well, do you plan on invading those countries?
Explicit right. Sorry?
Are you planning on invading those countries?
Okay, well, the point you made is that men have dominion over women, essentially.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones who grant the rights and can taketh away.
So I can say it's immoral in those nations for those men, under my Christian worldview, to grape their wives, to force their wives to have sex with them. I think that that's morally abhorrent.
Why would that be morally?
If you can demonstrate it, because it would be against my religious values. It would be against my ethical system. So I would say that that's immoral.
Well,
but
no, it wouldn't be.
I can also make the descriptive claim that unless you plan on invading those nations to stop them, then you're basically agreeing with me that men have the dominion, because there ain't shit you can do about it. And there ain't shit they can do about it.
Well, Andrew, you wouldn't disagree with them because, again, you said men have dominion over women. If men have had the imperative to deny those rights to women, then that would be the right thing to do.
It's not unlimited dominion. That's not what I said. That wasn't my claim.
Well, you didn't say
I claimed
unlimited
that. What did I
dominion.
claim specifically? That women should not be treated poorly. They should not be treated badly. They should not be abused. None of these things should happen. Dominion, the same way that
consequence of not granting them those rights. Like
it's not a consequence of that. You don't have to beat a woman because he can't vote. That's stupid.
No, I'm saying that's a consequence of not being allowed power in the political system or the legal system.
No, it's not.
If women don't have a right to vote, if women don't,
so men are just going to start raping and pillaging women because women don't have rights that men already gave them. Like men, who do you think gives men give them the rights to begin with? They're benevolent enough to give them the rights to begin with. Do you think that people who have mothers and they have daughters, men who have mothers and daughters, just walk around abusing women? No,
Yes.
bro, they don't do. No,
Yes.
no,
What
they
do you-
don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
You don't think men abuse their fucking
I didn't say that
family
there's not people who do abuse. It happens, but it happens from women on men too.
Okay, the especially egregious physical abuse that's almost entirely coming from men. So yeah,
unless it's on
there's women
children.
who will,
Unless
sorry?
it's on children, and then it's mostly perpetrated by women.
I don't know about that.
Well, it is true.
But
55% of all child abuse is conducted by women and not men.
okay, that's interesting. But in any case, then that would also mean 45% of the abuse is coming from men. So you're admitting that this is
right on par.
commonplace.
Like that doesn't mean it's commonplace. Why would that mean it's commonplace? That doesn't follow. Just because you look at the stat and you can break down the percentage of who conducts a crime doesn't mean the crime is common. That's absurd.
Okay, so family abuse is extremely common.
Well, physical abuse?
Yeah,
No.
that would be extremely common.
No, it's not
Let me
common.
see. Percentage of children who experience physical abuse. I'll just
Yeah, but
quickly
I want this
Google
defined as to what is considered physical abuse.
So approximately 1 in 4 children experience child abuse or neglect in their lifetime.
I want physical abuse.
Yeah, of maltreated children, 18% are abused physically, 78% are neglected, 9% are abused sexually. So that is out of 25%. So if 18% of 25% are abused, you can do the quick math there. I think that's about 5% roughly.
Okay, so that's still not a high number. Just so you know,
that is a pretty high number. 5%.
no,
that would be 1 in 20.
So these are people.
1 in
right?
20 isn't
Well,
high?
I said physical abuse. Whatever. I don't know what these other things mean. I don't know what neglect is. How do they
literally
define
just
neglect?
Explained. I didn't. I mentioned physical abuse specifically. It'd be roughly 5%. 1 in 20 is low to you.
Well,
Like,
I
that's
don't believe
rare?
it's 1 in 20. You haven't defined the terms of what constitutes abuse.
Well, I mentioned physical abuse specifically.
Yeah, but I don't
So-
know what that means. What is considered physical
Well,
abuse by
that
these
would
people?
that would be physical, hitting, slapping.
Yeah, but hitting's not physical abuse.
How is hitting not physical abuse?
There may be times where you need to make a correction, especially with a child, which is an important correction in order to spare them additional pain that they would not ordinarily have. Like, for instance, don't put your finger in the light socket, Johnny, and you smack Johnny's hands so that he remembers not to put his finger in the light socket. What's that?
That's not physical abuse. So,
Of course
like,
not.
Shoving. So if I were to shove somebody out of the way, like if they're going to be hit by a car, like that would be an analogous example.
Right.
That's
So I
not
believe
physical
that
abuse.
spanking, which is often introduced as a prism of abuse inside of these studies,
It
is
is.
not abuse.
It is.
It's not.
It's provably
It's correction.
using corporal punishment against a child has been proven to be bad in every conceivable way.
Yeah, by people who have no children. What do I care what they say? Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Sorry, you're relying on your own personal anecdote. Well, I hit my kids and they turned out good.
You're relying on your own personal anecdote. The only thing you're saying is that, which is, what's the proof that people's opinions are that if you spank a child, that the correction doesn't work?
Okay, sorry. Do you think prospective cohorts are less reliable than your own personal anecdotal experience?
It's not just my personal anecdotal experience. People have been using the cane on children since the time before time forgot.
This is insane. So
it's not insane. There's nothing wrong with spanking.
Yes, there is. And
no, there's not.
Provably, according to prospective cohorts, children who get spanked or caned or any sort of corporal punishment is used as like a...
Send me the study.
Sure. Like any sort of corporal punishment that's used against children.
Okay. And so here's the research that shows that smacked kids do better in life. And I'll send that over to you. A study has found that kids smacked until about the age 6 turn out better. Not only do they tend to do better at school, but they also likely do well for themselves later in life as compared to the kids who've never been spanked by their parents.
Yeah, that's hard for me to believe, but more harm than good. Summary of scientific research on the intended and unintended effects of corporal punishment in children. I don't know if you want me to send you that, but
it's by the way, it's a troll study. I'm joking.
Okay, sure, but in any case, if you look at the aggregate research, children who receive corporal punishment as a means of correcting behavior, so smacking, spanking, caning, whipping, belts, they do poorer in pretty much every metric. They're less likely to complete school. They're more likely to be depressed. As far as relationships in the future, they're less likely to have long-term meaningful relationships. They're more likely to be.
Let's assume for a second I make a concession for all of this, that spanking children is by far the absolute worst way that you can correct children. What does that have to do with the fact that men grant women rights?
Well, we went off course a little bit, but you were basically saying that on the basis that men grant women rights, you were assuming that men are in general
benevolent. Yes, I assume that men in general are benevolent. And
well,
if you make not really, so you think if we make a law tomorrow that says that murder is legal, while I would concede that murder will increase, are you just assuming that men are just going to start murdering with wild abandon? They have no self-control. They have no virtue. They have no nothing. Would you start murdering people, Richard?
No one. Well, yeah, I probably would actually.
Yeah, you probably would. So maybe maybe the reason you think the way that you do is because of the way that you are.
Well, no. So no one is entirely benevolent. There are people who do mostly good, but do some bad things. And I think if you were able to peer into people's personal lives, people that you thought were really nice, may not treat their families or their wives or spouse with as much respect as you'd appreciate. So
I'm digging into this, by the way. In the living situation with the highest odds of significant abuse is when children live with their mother and her male partner who's not the biological father.
Right. Okay.
So biological fathers aren't running around probably very often abusing their children. That's not the case in point here. When you start to dig into this, it turns out that women seem to be the problem here more than the men. Once again,
no, you just admitted it's the men.
Oh, I didn't. In fact, I told you the child abuse rates for women are higher than men.
You literally just showed me a statistic where men are the perpetrators.
I didn't say that men were the perpetrators. I said the highest likelihood of abuse is when the biological father's not present in the home.
Yes, and when the woman has a male partner. So
that doesn't mean the male partner is that doesn't mean the male partner is perpetuating the abuse if 55% of it's committed by the women, Richard.
Okay, well that's a separate statistic. You're just conflating the different
sources. The conflation would be by you. That would be by you.
Conflating the different sources.
That would be you. Who is conflating.
You just told me.
I never told you that the cause of the abuse is by the man. You made that up. You made it up. So you're conflating. I didn't conflate anything.
okay, in any case, I think we can agree that there is a significant enough rate of abuse against women and children perpetrated by men where you may want to include these people in the legal and political system.
Why?
Because okay, well, if men are like going to have complete dominion and you have a society where, like, again, women do not have little to no recourse when it comes to them getting abused, them getting raped,
they do have recourse.
Getting abused.
Whoa. That's two different things. What do you mean they have no recourse? They can go to men and they can get recourse, which is what they do right now. Right now, if a woman's being abused and she feels like her rights are impugned upon, and she goes to court and the court rules in her favor, who enforces her rights? Who do you think shows up? Do you think it's women who show up to enforce her rights, or do you think it's men who show up to enforce her rights?
Well, there are women who are police officers.
The exceptions to the rules.
I don't know how that's an exception. There are female police
Yes,
officers.
there are female. Like there's even female loggers, but you know how many there are? It's less than 1%, I believe.
I don't know why that matters. There are women who are responsible for enforcing.
Because men are responsible for the building of all infrastructure. They're responsible for the building of how society runs. They keep the electrical grid up. They keep the entire system in place. Not only is that one function of the enforcement of rights, but also they are the ones who are going to end up physically enforcing it. They're going to physically enforce the rights for women, which is what they do now.
You don't see a potential issue where if you have a society where men are generally indifferent to, I don't know, the plight or suffering of women, where, oh, you got raped by your husband? Sure you did, toots. Okay, I'll write down a report. Like, you don't see an issue where,
of course, society... I do. That would be an immoral and non-virtuous society. However,
certainly
this would have to do. This has nothing to do with whether or not the women are involved in the political system, but how virtuous the men are. How virtuous the men are. Why?
It absolutely does.
Why? We don't have to listen to them now, Richard. We could just take rights away from women tomorrow, couldn't we?
You don't think if women had a right to vote, they could vote in, say, police chiefs?
Their right to vote only exists because we give it to them.
I don't care. That's the point. Like, if women have a right to vote, you don't think they'd have power to elect in?
They don't have their powers. It's a faux power. They don't have real power.
Can you stop cutting me off? You don't think if women had a right to vote, there would be a greater likelihood of, say, police chiefs, mayors, politicians, officials that are more sympathetic to their problems?
Why would they be more sympathetic to their problems just because they could vote?
Well, I'm saying, if women could vote, they could elect in officials that would be more sympathetic to their problems. And because women make up 50% of the population, that would be a big motivator for certain politicians to actually be sympathetic.
As long as men allow them to vote, sure.
Yes, but what I'm pointing out is you're probably going to see lower instances of certain people in society getting mistreated, abused, not being considered if women have a right to vote.
No, well, that I dispute. Why would you see more abuse in society just based on the vote? How much abuse do you think that there was pre-women voting? I don't understand.
A lot.
Why do you think that there was show me, prove, demonstrate that there was significantly more abuse before women could vote?
Okay, sure. Let me see. There have been big changes in grape rates over time. Let me see. So
that's not what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you to demonstrate for me that men, before women could vote in the United States, were just running around abusing fucking women. That's absurd. Why would they do that?
I don't know what you mean by that, but there have been reductions in spousal abuse, incling
that's because less people are getting married.
No. This is rates per capita. And
I understand, but even if it's per capita, if you lessen the pool, you're still going to have less.
No.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
It is how it works.
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, it is how it works.
That's not how that works.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Population,
if you only have a pool, hang on. If you only have a pool of 5 people who are going to get married, Okay, there are 5 groups, and you go ahead and you take that group. Do you think that the per capita ratio of those 5 people is going to be the same as if you did 100 million? Do you think it's going to be the same across the board?
If all else is equal, then yes.
All else is never equal. Come on, dude.
You could have a situation where you have such a small sample size that okay, if you only have one couple versus 100 million, you're not going to see a meaningfully
well, when did statistics, when do you think statistics started for spousal abuse?
I'm not sure, but
well, the thing is that I don't think in the 1700s there was rampant abuse of women, and I don't think in the 1800s there was rampant abuse of women. I don't know where you came up with the idea that there was.
I don't know how you could figure that. Like, again,
give me some evidence to the contrary.
Well, what's the figure? Like 1 in 5 women in their lifetime will likely be a victim of a sexual assault of some kind.
Well, like, they'll say that anyway.
Okay, well, we could say they're all liars, right?
I'm not saying they're all liars. I'm just saying
right.
We all based on self-reported data.
Well, okay. Well, this isn't just based on self-reporting. This is also
the 1 in 4 would be based on self-reporting. If you were just going to use police stats, it's nowhere near that high.
Well, if you're looking purely based on like FBI statistics, I think that does correlate with the 1 in 5 figure.
Show me
lifetime 1 in 5.
Show me that the FBI statistics show that 1 in 5 women report that they've been sexually assaulted. That's bullshit.
Well, you also have to take into account relatively small proportion of these attacks are actually reported. So if you're only going to
then how do they know about them if they're not reported?
Again, they use other methods of research to.
You mean like we're getting them to report? How could they possibly know it without them being reported? Can you explain that to me?
Again, these aren't like, you don't have to have perfectly 100% accurate stats. If I think this is for all crimes, by the way. About 20% of like burglaries are reported. Roughly like 20% of homicides are reported. Like, this is for all crime. So,
so you're just making estimates?
No, it's not just an estimate.
Well, how is it not just
what
an
I'm pointing
estimate?
out is these sorts of crimes are very common. They're common enough where you may want to include 50% of the population as part of the legal and political system, so that they could perhaps influence changes that benefit themselves or society as a whole.
They're just all you're doing is adding an extra step.
Well,
they're just petitioning patriarchal men again for their rights, regardless of if they can vote or not. Here's why. If men collectively decide tomorrow that women can't vote, they can't. But if women decide tomorrow collectively that men can't vote, we can. That's the difference. It's very simple.
Okay,
there's nothing they can do about it. And we can do whatever we want because that's just the way it's set up, bro.
Right. That's why Nazi Germany happened.
That's not why would that be a Nazi principle? Almost every nation on planet Earth, which are not Nazis, had to use this principle, bro.
This isn't a principle. I don't.
It is a.
First of all,
hang on. What do you mean it's not a principle?
You claimed this was just a purely descriptive observation you're making. So if it's
no, I didn't claim that.
Normative claim.
I did claim a descriptor, but I also gave you an ought. My ought was due to Christian virtues, Christian virtue ethics. I don't believe that women should ever be abused by men. I also believe that men have a responsibility, a duty to step in and stop any type of abuse which is happening. I believe that divorce for the cases of abuse is just fine. And so does the church that I belong to, the Orthodox Church. They believe that that's true. Okay. The only time that we would step in, and it would be for like when people say irreconcilable differences, like we just don't like each other's faces, then we would probably try to step in and say something along the lines
of. It's interesting you mentioned that you belong to a patriarchal system that's known for rampant sexual abuse.
No, that would be
within
the
Catholic Church. Oh, you're not Catholic?
Yeah, I'm Orthodox. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you on the Catholic Church. However, it's not any more rampant than it is in the public school system, Richard.
I'm not sure about that, but
it's not.
If it was,
you know why? Do you know why that is? It's because predators go where the children are. Makes sense.
Well, sure. I'd like to see the statistics. I'm not so sure if that is the case. I'd be very surprised, in fact.
Well, no. I mean, it is the case for sure. And you know, you can just kind of pull it in. There's very few Catholics inside the United States. Of course, you have this massive pool of kids who go to public school. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet for a sexual predator, and sexual predators go where the victims are. So that's why public school sexual abuse is so rampant.
I don't know if it's as high as in the Catholic Church, but I do know of some pretty crazy cases. I think there was an entire school faculty in Los Angeles that had to be replaced because every single member was found to be involved in some predator ring.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm not a Catholic. But this aside, let me be very specific here with what I'm saying. I'm saying that men are the grantors of all rights to women, and that necessarily is always going to be true. Always, everywhere. And it is right now, and they can take them away whenever they want, and women have basically zero recourse except to reapply to men to get those rights again.
Right. Well, even if we were to accept that as true, the point I'm making is there is
do you accept it as true?
Sorry?
Do you accept it as true?
I don't know if I entirely agree with that. To some extent, I agree, but I don't entirely agree with it. But
well, which part do you disagree with of that descriptor?
There's a level of truth to it, but there's a level of distruth. Like, women do have an ability to fight for their rights. Like, you will see, like, I mean, look at some of the protests that are happening in Europe and Ukraine and Russia.
Oh yeah, all those women who are in the street blowing shit up. Come on, man. No, it's all men for the most part. I would say like 98% is men over there blowing shit up. Come on,
80%.
Dude.
We could go with 80%, but
it's again, overwhelmingly men.
It is overwhelmingly men, but women are also involved in this too. But the big point here is you have an interest in protecting women and children and say people who have a lack of power in society. So you wouldn't want, children absolutely have a lack of power in society.
Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean you're specifically only talking about children as having a lack of power.
Well, they're like disabled people. I'm sure you don't want them to get mistreated or abused. Like,
yeah, that's correct. I think that men have a virtuous duty to not do that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So if you don't include these people in the political and legal system, that opens them up to far more abuse. Like, there's a reason why, by the way, there's a reason why in a lot of these police precincts, there's a goal to have a certain amount of female officers. It prevents female suspects from getting abused and taken advantage of.
It sure doesn't prevent those female officers from getting their asses kicked by male suspects very much, does it?
Well, again, you can arrange duties in a way that's beneficial for everybody.
Right. So what you have to do is you have to give them lighter duties, because if they run into men, they can't fucking deal with it nearly as well. And men are far better equipped to be cops. Just admit that that's true.
That is true.
Of course. And they're better equipped to be soldiers. They're better equipped for violence. They're better equipped.
Wait. That's an interesting point you make. Yes, men are more well equipped to commit violence, and they're also much more sexually motivated. The chances of a male officer sexually abusing a female suspect are much greater than a female officer sexually abusing a suspect.
Yeah, I can see that that's true, but I think it's beside the point. A cop's job is to enforce law, and it's going to be necessary that you have males do that. If you had a female police force, it'd be a joke. But if you had an all-male police force, it wouldn't be.
Well, again, it's clearly in the best interest of everybody to have a certain amount of female officers at least performing certain duties.
Well, okay, fair enough. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean
I'm not saying women should do absolutely everything that a male officer does. I think there are certain situations where you have very dangerous suspects where you would require a larger, more intimidating man. Sure. Okay, but there are
like what situation would be better if you were dealing with any disgruntled man, whether he was 5'1" and drunk or 6'6" and drunk, that you wouldn't want to have a male officer on the scene rather than the female?
Well, sure, but you would prefer to have a female officer on scene, say, searching a female suspect
So that
maybe,
she doesn't accuse the cop of raping her.
Well, this has actually happened though.
It has. I agree. So that's fine. We can have. Let me just ask you this: if the entire police department was male, it was only allowed to be male, period, and you had another police department that was only allowed to be female, which police department do you think would be better equipped to deal with crime?
Violent crime, men would be
all crime.
Better. Well, I would say for violent crime, men would be better equipped. For non-violent crimes, I think women would be better equipped for the most part.
So, which police department do you think would outperform the other one?
It depends, but like,
let's say all things equal, all things equal, they're both in high crime areas. That's where they both are. Which one do you think is going to do better, Richard?
Like, again, I think they would be better at doing certain things. So I think women would probably be better with nonviolent crimes. I think they'd probably be able to talk to
the crimes that people care about the least. The crimes that people generally care about absolutely the least. Writing tickets. You want meter maids and writing tickets and shit like that. I mean, come on, man.
Well, Andrew, you have to be able to get along with the public, and you do have to be able to get along with suspects. And I've seen female officers be much less combative.
Okay, but men are just fine with social skills, especially with other men. So
great.
I just want you to answer this honestly for me. Which department, all things equal, both in high crime areas, which one do you think is going to perform better? The all-male police force or the all-female?
I don't know what you consider performing well. Like, if you mean by making more arrests.
Solve more crimes.
Sorry?
Solve more crimes and put more suspects in jail.
It would probably be the male force.
Yeah.
But again... that's not the point I'm making. So the point I'm making is you have some vulnerable individuals, the vulnerable individuals in this case being women. With an all male police force, if you have men interviewing women who are claiming to have been victims of rape, you're going to see a much higher likelihood of them not being taken seriously. And you can see this in every industry, by the way. This is a big problem in the healthcare industry, where women will report having pain to a male doctor, and male doctors are less likely to take them seriously and give them appropriate diagnoses and medication. This is across all industries. So when you have issues like this that can be systemic, where men just do not take women's issues seriously,
then I guess they can just vote to make them take them seriously.
Well, yes.
So they're going to vote. So they're going to vote and say, you need to take me seriously, and have men come in and enforce my rights. Have men come in and tell other men they have to take me seriously.
They're going to have
big brain stuff, man.
You have to contend with 50% of the population.
Men have always contended with 50% of the population. It hasn't been problematic for us to do ever.
Okay, well, when you're running as an elected official and you have a potential to capture 50% of the votes, that is
unless they can't vote.
That
you don't have to worry about it.
Yes, and that's what I'm arguing for. If you're going to have a huge, huge incentive.
Yeah, and then you also end up with disproportionation the other way, right? It's disproportionate the other way. When you get into court, for instance, how do you think you would fare if you got a divorce tomorrow? Do you think that you would do better than your wife?
I have no idea.
Oh, I mean, what do you think on average? Do you think your chances are better than hers of walking away with the fairest deal?
Probably. Yeah.
You think on average that's true?
I don't know. Like, when you're talking, like, okay, by the way, when you're talking about like huge alimony payments, shit like that, you're usually talking about really rich people.
Well, no, I'm not just talking about rich people. I'm just talking about even dividing up assets. When you have lawyers involved, the court favors women overwhelmingly, disproportionately, in fact. And because men are so benevolent, and we are benevolent, we have gone out of our way to kind of pamper women, to keep them away from all the rough and tumble. We keep them away from the hard shit. We keep them away from that. And so most of our laws favor women, to the point that even in the criminal justice system, if it comes to a woman being prosecuted for the exact same crime as a man, the man gets a worse punishment.
Yes.
I
would agree with that.
Yeah. So we're clearly benevolent We're clearly pretty fucking benevolent, Richard.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Do you think a woman is going to be more sympathetic to a female criminal than a man is going to be sympathetic to a female criminal?
Doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, I would imagine a female judge is going to be less sympathetic to a female criminal.
You can imagine that all you want, but it's not demonstrated in our courts.
I don't know if it is. I'd have to look up some of the research on that, but I will agree with you. Female criminals are treated better in the criminal justice system. They do get lower sentencing.
Even though they're at the complete mercy of the patriarchy.
Well, yes, but
that means the patriarchy, that's pretty compelling evidence the patriarchy is pretty fucking benevolent towards women, Richard.
Well, in that case, in that particular case.
What cases aren't they? They don't log, they don't put up the electrical grid, they don't do the infrastructure, they don't do the auto mechanics, they don't work in the medical fields other than as nurses, but they don't invent most of the technology for that. At what point are you going to look at this and be like, look, men are pretty fucking benevolent? No, that's not what I said. I said the invention of the equipment in the medical field. Almost all men, almost all engineers for applied science are men. Almost all loggers are men. Your roads are constructed by men. Your infrastructure is constructed by men. Your buildings are constructed by men. Women have very little to do with any of this at all.
I wanted to talk about waiting to have sex and why women should wait to have sex. Did you want to elaborate a bit on that? Or how long?
Yeah, so I think if you're looking for a serious relationship, I think it's better to wait. And I mean, I guess there's no specific time. I would say like at least a month, preferably longer than that. But until you guys have like a solid emotional bond, and then moving forward with that, because just from experience, it always sucks to.
Killer Serial donated $69. Opportunity to swindle men into giving you money for sexual motive will always exist. What other skills do you currently possess that you could use for another job? No breaks. Your resume says what?
You two real quick if you want to answer.
Well, Killa, you made a good point that I can always use my swindling skills, as you call them, swindling, to get men to give me money, and I really don't need anything else on my resume if that is true.
You're funny.
Yeah, as far as like marketable skills, like honestly, I went to 3 years of art school and then dropped out. I have some experience in retail and things like that, but.
Wait, you went to art school and then you dropped out?
I did because of COVID.
Wow, we got a real Hitler on our hands over here.
Is that when you went into porn after that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I'd been dancing in art school and just, you know, it was just always kind of the lifestyle I wanted.
Yeah.
So other than sex, no marketable skills?
The swindling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she says the swindling would also require sex, right? Because she said I would swindle men using my sexuality, right?
Yeah, and well, I was saying like, Killa Serial said that I'll always be able to do that. I'll always be able to do that, so I'm not worried about having other skills.
Yeah, but assuming you can use sexuality, that's the point of the question.
I'm sure she saved enough money too. I don't think
I've saved a lot of money. I'm very business savvy. I'm very technologically savvy.
Doge.
I run my own
some crypto.
Live streams and things like that. And Chaturbate, I do my own photography, videography, editing. So if ever, you know, I did want to be in front of the camera, there's so many roles in this industry behind the camera.
Your response to the TTS?
I do think people like underestimate how many like the skill set it actually takes to do the job. It's a lot more than just like using your body.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish that's all it took, you know, but I'm more than just a whole. So I have experience like before I ever did that with like working with children, old people, animals. I also am really good at sales. I feel like I could go into something like high ticket sales or just like, I don't know. There's like endless things you could do. I don't feel like I'm that limited.
Let's go back to this though. You said women should wait to have sex. You were saying a month at minimum, maybe longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of up to your own discretion, but I think you're at a good spot when the man is not pressuring you to have sex. At that point, I mean, if a man is, for example, going to say like, "Oh, if you don't have sex with me, then I'm not going to continue seeing you or whatever." Like having sex just to shut him up.
That's
or
valid,
keep
right?
him.
Don't you think that's valid?
So Flo Act 954 donated $69.
Thank you, so Flo.
Cheaters gone cheat. If you can't stand the heat, stay out the kitchen.
Thank you, man.
Move on, plenty of fish in the sea. Stay off the knees and expect chivalry from these. Boys to men, foes and friends.
Some Shakespeare from SoFlo Shakespeare.
Didn't you say that
was
you're
beautiful,
a
man.
Christian? So why would you tell girls to just wait at least a month before having sex with somebody?
Well, not everyone is going to.
Minnesota Wise Man donated $69. That's a great start, Maddie. Love it. Your turn, Gustavo. Public shaming and embarrassment in any way. Perfect way to cancel the next wave of MF'd degeneracy. It's the humane thing to do. Hashtag wokefolk. Rock on gesture.
Yo, Gerald.
Just Gerald donated
Thank you. Thank you, Minnesota Wise
$69.
Man. Also.
For all your recommendations, I leave you with this. Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. The Three Body Problem Trilogy kicks in lieu. Sleep well, panel. Good night.
Yo, good night.
Thank you so much for all the
Gerald.
super chats, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
What was the question?
You were asking her.
Yeah. So earlier you had said that you're a Christian, and then you're now like trying to give advice, saying like, oh, if you want to sleep with somebody, you should wait until you've at least known them for a month or have an emotional connection with them.
Not if you're trying to sleep with somebody. If it's more for women who are looking for a serious relationship. Not everyone is going to be a Christian. I guess I'm just as a blanket statement for women that are looking for a relationship, don't sleep with a guy so soon, I guess is what I'm just trying to say.
Yeah.
Do you think it's okay for a guy to move things along, though, if the girl's not willing to sleep with him? I think that's, like, for me, I think that's a perfectly valid reason. If the guy wants sex, she doesn't, he can just dump her, or just move along.
Well, yeah, and that's obviously something you want to talk about. Like, I'm not saying you have to wait forever, but it's more so like if the guy is, only interested in you for sex, that they'll be fished out pretty quickly because they'll make it known.
Well, a lot of men will lie about that. Like they want you for sex, but they'll lie and say they want a relationship, or and so
the second you sleep with them,
it'll
they're
be tested by time, essentially.
That's wrong. Yeah, and I think it's wrong for men to lie about their intentions. But I guess the dilemma is, right, on one hand, I suppose it's always better to be moving in a better direction when it comes to that. But like for me personally, I'm not waiting until marriage. I'm not really particularly inclined to wait long. I am desirous of a long-term relationship. That's always, for the most part, been my preference when it comes to dating. I have really no interest in sleeping with a girl once, try to get her and then sleep with her once and then that's it. If I sleep with her, I want there to be continuity. I want to continue seeing her, but I don't have any sort of like, well, we need to wait some arbitrary set period of time. Now, if there might be a bit more leeway, for example, if she's a virgin or her standard with all the prior men she's been with was, I'm going to wait X period of time until we're in a relationship, until we're committed, whatever. But if she had 10, 20 previous sexual partners and she slept with all of them relatively quickly, and then she lands on me, and now she wants to wait 3 months, she wants to wait until marriage.
Well, there is no arbitrary
That's
amount of time.
crazy.
It really is just until you feel like you have a solid foundation other than sex, I guess. And that could be, it's different for every relationship, and that's something that you would want to communicate.
You can be fooled. Like a guy could just be telling you what you want to hear. And so I think it would be better to encourage women to like pursue purity and to pursue understanding their value and valuing what they have and waiting for somebody.
Chastity, right?
Yeah,
Pursue chastity.
And so my fear in like saying that to a girl is that she's going to be let down and then she's going to go through another heartbreak, right? Because you have an attachment with somebody that you have sex with. And I don't think that that's good advice to be giving somebody.
Well, I think that she's just trying to be realistic because that's like, that's not like the norm for like everybody.
Yeah, but I'm saying
not everyone is going to have Christian values and wait until marriage.
But you have Christian values.
Yeah, you have Christian values, and there's still like a right way to go about life. And I believe as a Christian, we know what that is. We know that the way that Jesus says to live, the way that the Bible calls us to live, is to have abundant life.
Wait, are you waiting until marriage with your next guy?
Oh yeah, I don't want to.
You're not going to have sex before marriage?
I don't want to have any kind of sexual.
Well,
no, I'm not. What do you guys call it?
Hold on. Let me ask you a question, though. Hold on. How long have you had this position that you're waiting until marriage?
Well, my whole life I've.
Well,
but have I followed that? No.
But your first boyfriend wasn't the case. That was sounded like an incredibly toxic relationship. Then you were celibate for 5 years. Then you met this guy who wasn't even a Christian, and it sounded like you went on a couple dates, slept with him a couple times. You ended things. As recently as a month ago, you were, despite knowing that he's not a Christian, you were, as recently as a month ago, in communications with him. I suspect if you had met up with him, you would have had sex with him. Is that fair to say? If you were to have met up with him again, is it fair to say you would have had sex?
No.
Why else would you meet up with him then?
I don't think that I would have had sex with him.
Why would you meet up with him then? For what other reason?
The emotional connection.
What do you think his motivation would have been to meet up with you?
Probably that.
Okay. When you were texting him, did you explicitly state, hey, change of plans, I'm not going to have sex with you? Did you tell him that?
Yeah, he knew where my
that's why he flaked on you then, probably.
Oh, okay.
Non-Christian man.
Yeah. What was your point in saying all that?
Well, I'm just a little confused because, you say your standard is you want to wait until marriage, but the two men that you were...
Yeah, because I understand the value of it, and I understand every time I don't follow it, it's worse for me.
Right, but I feel like a Christian man that would be inclined to date you, who perhaps would be willing to wait until marriage, it would be a little, I don't know what the right word is here, a little disheartening for him to hear that as recently as a month ago, you were trying to solicit I assume, date or meet up with a man who's not a Christian, who you've previously had sexual intercourse with. That would, to me, would make me kind of question your motivations.
I mean, the temptation is natural.
She's not claiming to be perfect. She's not claiming to never have been tempted in her life.
Yeah.
And sometimes we even give into that, but it's a natural double-mindedness, like the flesh versus the spirit. And so I think what she's trying to say is, even though she is a Christian, she follows Christ. It's not always like I'm going to be perfect all the time.
Yes, people make mistakes. Absolutely. I guess.
I'm sorry for speaking for you. Maybe that's not true.
I think that's impressive that you've.
Yes, I will grant you that. The fact that you were celibate for 5 years and then another 2 years, and you claim your body count's only 2. That's commendable, at least compared to your peers of your same age. But. It seems like, let's say there was a Christian guy, but he's not inclined to wait for marriage. I mean, I feel like he'd be getting a bit of a raw deal to learn that as recently as a month ago, you were soliciting at least at minimum, a romantic hangout with a man who you had previously had sexual intercourse with. And I mean, it's very likely that you could have fallen into temptation and had sex with him.
Yeah, it's probably likely.
It's likely that you would have had sex with him.
Then God's protecting her.
I think that too. But I think that just because you mess up doesn't mean you still shouldn't strive to be better, try to be pure, try to be those things. And there's forgiveness and I totally. But that's just the reality of my sin and my mistake and my. Not following what I know to be true and what I know to be right. Mm-hmm. And you just have to take it or leave it. If that's too much for somebody, then that's too much for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well,
which is why you should try to value what you have even more.
I think one of the issues there are women who will kind of claim that they want to wait. They meet a guy, they've had 10 previous sexual partners, they slept with all those men relatively quickly, and then they land on you and they claim to really like you, but then they're wanting to make you wait for sex, even if you're desirous of a long-term relationship with them, and you're desirous of
you can look at it from a different
sex
perspective. Maybe it clearly didn't work out with the last dudes that someone slept with, and they don't want to follow that same formula because they really like you and they don't want to mess it up, and there's different ultimately it would be coming from that place because you care about the relationship. Does that make any sense?
So you reward the fuckboys who will never give you commitment with immediate sex, and you punish the men who are worthy of a relationship by making them wait weeks, months, or even until marriage.
Well, you also don't know what they've been through. What if they got pregnant and STD? Like, you don't know their sexual history.
How's that relevant?
Because they're traumatized and maybe they're like scared to have sex.
I don't know how that's relevant. What do you mean?
It's not necessarily a punishment.
What if he's desirous of having sex?
Well, that would make
then
sense.
Then he should date someone else who's desirous of
well,
having
yes,
sex.
I agree.
He's punishing himself by dating somebody who doesn't want the same things that he wants. He's punishing himself. He's putting himself in that position.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, but hold on.
He's more than welcome to move on and
go. The cat's kind of already out the bag. You're no longer a virgin. You've had a promiscuous past. Look, I suppose.
So, like, what should I do differently, you think?
Well, I'm gonna. Okay.
He's gonna push back on this.
I have to. Brian, let us assume for a second that a man murders another man. The cat's already out of the bag. He's already done it. Should he just keep on going, or?
Nice try, Brian.
No, he should not continue murdering.
Then why not, though? But he's already done it.
So what advice would you, Brian, give to women who have previously had intercourse before marriage but want to turn their life around? What advice would you give them to go about that without, for lack of a better word, offending the man?
Yeah. So I mean, look, here's a bit of my criticism. I have, I think it's fair for men to be skeptical. Is kind of where I'm going with this. Is it really how you feel, or are you just using it as leverage to secure a long-term relationship? Because where I get skeptical is that, one, are you actually attracted to the guy to begin with, or are you feel like you're settling, and then you're just not really that attracted to him, but time's ticking, time's running out. Okay, here's a nice provider, nice guy. Okay, I'm gonna make him wait until marriage. Boom, boom, boom. Then like all those guys who like hit it within the first 2 hours, whatever. You're gonna be thinking about them, and they pleased you better sexually, whatever it may be, and then it just makes for just a terrible relationship.
That's a very niche scenario.
Yeah.
I think
Well, no, wait. Hang on. So I did back you guys up on this because me and Brian do have this. One of the things we do have a fundamental disagreement on, but he is right about this in this sense, and I'd like to actually see you refute it. Christianity has become a safe haven for reformed prostitutes who then move in and say, oh, well, now I'm going to be chaste and I'm going to follow all of the criteria which is required for a Christian. I'm a good girl now, right? I'm a good girl now. And it's used as a form of camouflage in order to attract a mate later in life. And you just say, hey, I'm reformed, so you can't hold that against me. And that's what his point is a red flag. He's saying this is a massive red flag for men. And why wouldn't it be a red flag for men that suddenly your behavior massively changes, sometimes overnight? Shouldn't men be skeptical?
Not the right men.
I don't really think that's the case.
What do you mean not the wait? Why do you mean not the right men?
It's okay to be skeptical. He probably should be skeptical because he needs to figure out if I'm somebody that he would want to be with,
or if you're being genuine,
or
about
if I'm
your
being
change.
genuine, or if I'm like.
Yeah, so it's a massive red flag,
Act
right?
954 donated $69. On the first date, I'm going in for the kiss. After the third date, if we ain't acting like apes under silky drapes, shoo fly. I'm not the dinner date kind of guy being used by 304s as a wink in the eyes.
Beautiful.
That was good. It's just it's a skepticism thing. Like, okay, because there's this thing where maybe we pull up the flower cuck meme, Nick, the censored one if you can. It's like, okay, last 20 guys, you hooked up, first date, then you come along, oh, wait till marriage, or wait 3 months, and then maybe the guy does it. He does all the right things, courts you, blah, blah, blah. Let's say you break up with that guy. I hear plenty of stories where the guy will do the right thing, wait, whatever, and then that girl, after they break up, rebound, fucks a guy within 24 hours of meeting him. So it was never actually a genuine standard.
Yeah.
You just use this like, you're basically playing a game. You're manipulating.
Or they're just immature, and maybe it was there's a part of them that means it.
You got it, Nick? Here's the meme, right? Okay, this is what it is. Okay, maybe put us on the corner or something. Put us on the corner. This is the meme. Oh, you're gonna what? Do you want to be the guy who's got the flowers, and do you want to be that guy?
What message?
I don't want to be. I don't want to be any of those men.
I don't
send that message
that
to
any
men
guy
out
would
there.
want to be
That's
that.
kind of-
This is it. This is what's going on.
So you're saying
guy
to
the one
men
who doesn't get sex?
So
This
you're
is
saying
what's
to men,
going on.
You don't want to
No.
be that guy with the flowers. It's best to just
Right.
get in line. That's not
No,
a good
you don't want to
the
be.
opposite.
You
He's
don't want to
saying-
be anybody in that line.
He's giving you an internal critique. He's saying, look, there are men out there who want to follow virtues, and they want to follow a Christian ethic, or maybe a Muslim ethic, or maybe some other Abrahamic religious ethic. The last thing that they want is to be made fools of by having a woman who claims that they're suddenly pious, and they're just utilizing them and utilizing the religion as a mask so that they can basically protect themselves from the ridicule that would normally come with their promiscuous past. And that's what we're seeing a rise in. So from the secularist perspective and Brian's perspective, the logic here is really sound. He's saying, like, look, if you're willing to have sex with all of these men, why, and then suddenly you're a chaste Christian, don't you think that should throw up red flags for other men that perhaps you're just utilizing this as a cloak in order to hide from your promiscuous past? And I think that that's a totally valid criticism, and one which women in the Christian church, and Christian churches anyway, especially Protestant churches, have been really pushing on men. Oh, she's reformed, it's okay. But I mostly see this from women. I don't see this from men who basically, they don't want to marry reformed prostitutes. And why would you blame them?
Talking about like
I don't blame them. I don't
necessarily
blame
at all.
them
This
for
is
that.
it's going down the whole point was just like from the get-go for girls to just be like more
now your mic
more
is tilted up.
choosy about being like so
Sure.
quick to sleep with people. That's really just like
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
That's it.
I have a couple really quick on the whole waiting for
Yeah,
sex
but
thing.
there's entailments here, though, right? Is like the problem is that the one thing leads to the other thing leads to the other thing. So it's like it's nice to say, women should be more choosy, but you were saying, earlier, well, they should wait at least a month. But even that within the Christian ethic is incorrect. And then I heard Blue Cross say, hey, look, that's not the right kind of man then if he doesn't want to marry a reformed prostitute. Well, wait a second. I mean, that's the wrong kind of woman, right? He's the right kind of man. She's the wrong kind of woman. Isn't that the right way to phrase that?
So you're saying the right kind of man is the type that want
Various crazy people donated $69. Why invest time, money and resources to a disinterested woman when you know she has given it up to someone else on the first date?
No one is making
She's just not
No,
that
I think
into
you
you.
said it
I think
best
she's just-
yourself. A disinterested woman. Just go pursue women who are interested in you.
I think you said disheartened.
Yeah, I mean, my advice is
Right?
find
Like,
another one.
what?
Yeah, no one's making you do that.
This is my point, right? It's like from their perspective, how can you even blame them if they're like, oh, well, now suddenly
I don't
you
think
put a
anyone's
cross on and you're a
blaming.
Christian,
No. At
but you
all.
were humping everything that moved just a couple of years ago, right? Doesn't that seem, from the perspective of especially secular men, that would be like the most enormous red flag I could think of, right?
From secular men, yes.
I'm not a secular man.
But even from Christian men, why shouldn't that be a red flag from Christian men that you have a highly promiscuous
I mean,
past? Why
hopefully
would
that's
that
not
not
the
be?
only thing that they know about the person. There's also
Yeah.
other things that come with the person.
Yeah.
You would.
I think you if you want to pursue a woman with a past that has been reformed, then that ultimately you're gonna know that. You're gonna know if that is a person that you want to try and date, and if that comes with that, that ultimately that's your
Well,
choice.
then, sure. But let me ask you this then, to kind of expand on Brian's point. Your future daughter, Cindy Lou, okay, comes over, and or you know what? Let's do this even easier. Let's say your little son Jack comes over to you at 19 years old, and all things equal, Jack has the choice between two women. They both adore him. They're both beautiful. They both have what you would consider to be great virtues. But one of them had a past that was highly promiscuous and the other one does not. Which one would you want Jack to end up with?
Well, Are you asking me? Because my personal opinion, like what I would say is whichever one he felt like he wanted to pursue, and whichever one.
But he says, Mom, I can't decide. They both adore me.
Then neither.
And I like them. I like them.
You can't decide who you want to pursue. Then neither.
Right? They're both pursuing me with rigor. Right? If you had to make,
I think it'd be a better.
Hang on. Let me finish the question. I just
Your
let you
question
answer.
doesn't make sense. No.
I'll help out.
It does. Hang on. It does make sense. Right? So the question is that if they have the same current virtue but not the same past, wouldn't you recommend that your son move for the one that has the same virtue as the other, but without all of the bear down of the past?
I don't believe that the past has any relevance to the current.
Yes,
I just don't understand.
Hold
why.
on, hold on. Just to answer his question, he's asking you, just actually try to engage with.
Well, that's insane. What do you mean the past has no relevance? So
we'll get to that. Wait,
if she was a felon, that had no relevance. If you know,
I married a
if she blew
felon,
100 guys, if she blew 100 guys in a month-long blow dick affair, right? She had a blow dickathon, and she blew 100 guys. That would have no relevance to you whatsoever. Really? Go ahead, tell me with a straight face that you're not lying to me.
No.
Tell me with a straight face that would have no relevancy to you whatsoever.
No, you do think that.
You're full of shit. Bullshit.
There's consequences.
Who the fuck would ever believe you that would mean nothing to you for little Jack? You'd be like, Jack, don't worry about it. Sure, she sucked 100 dicks in a blow dickathon. Move past it. Leave the other
How do you get
shit,
invited to the dickathon? Hold on.
Because this stemmed from like the advice to have girls wait and be less promiscuous.
Well, and then he was talking to me about
Okay, hold on. I do actually want to see if we can get an answer to Andrew's question. If you had to counsel your son, which do you pick?
Well, I mean, as a mom, I'm sure I would prefer the one that was less promiscuous, but I truly believe that people can be reformed. People can separate themselves from their past and start anew, and that's from my own experience, and that's from my husband's experience.
We're not doubting that people can be reformed.
That's what I base my answer off of.
Yeah, but nobody's doubting that reformation is not only possible but is key to the Christian ethic. But that does not erase your previous deeds. It does not erase your past. That just because you have been redeemed, the past no longer exists. For instance, you would agree with me that a murderer who horribly murdered people could be redeemed by Christ, right?
Yeah, of course.
Are we going to just suddenly forget that he murdered people?
You don't forget. You don't forget. Okay, about the past.
No, it matters.
But it is forgiven, and so when you
I didn't say it's not forgiven. I said it matters. That's the point. Is that it matters. It's not that it's an equal thing across the board. That murderers still took loved ones away from families. They still did horrible things.
So let me ask you, Andrew, why does it matter to you so much?
That a person has a past, because
why does it matter to
my
Various
children.
crazy people donated $69. Jesus forgives your past, men don't.
I got something here. So
because if I had to counsel my children, to answer your question directly, of course I'm going to counsel them to go with the person who has the higher virtue without the past, because it shows a pattern of behavior that they've always moved towards virtue. It shows a pattern of behavior that they've always moved inside of that field of view. And so I'm not going to just dismiss a person's past behavior because their head was dunked in holy water and they say, now I've been saved. Christianity is a lifelong process. That's what theosis is. Your past is not suddenly erased. Mine isn't, yours isn't, nobody's is. That's why. And not only is that logical and consistent, but that's within the ethic itself as well. Redemption without works is no type of redemption at all. You can take a lifetime to really repent for the horrible things that you did, like St. Mary of Egypt, for instance, who was a sex worker, promiscuous prostitute, spent the rest of her life in seclusion in repentance. That's the type of thing that is redemption. Not, I got my head dunked and now my past is erased. That's insanity.
Well, are you
Wait, hold on. Question here. So, okay, do you think a man is wrong for not being willing to date a woman who perhaps she's changed, she's been redeemed, but despite this, she still has a past? Do you think a man is wrong for not wanting to date her because of her past?
Absolutely not. I don't think
so
he
then
would
what are
be
we
wrong
arguing
at all.
about
That's
then?
why I'm confused because well, I want to know why it's so important to Andrew. Because if you look at the fruit of a person's current life, if you look at the fruit of the Spirit, and you see that someone is
so then you do object to a man not wanting to date a woman with a past.
Wait a second. So wait, you would you couldn't judge the fruit. You would have to ask your husband, right?
This is not a productive word.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I just want to know why it is that you wouldn't give a woman that has a past, a chance if she was trying to be different. Or
I didn't say I wouldn't give him a chance. I didn't say that I would not.
Yeah, that was me.
I would not. Hang on. I didn't say that I would not adhere to the Christian ethic. What I said specifically is that if I was going to counsel my children, which is the question that I asked you, and they were to come to me and say that a person had a very highly promiscuous past. They had had sex with tons of people, and last week or a year ago, they got their head dunked in what they perceived to be some holy water from the local heresy Protestant church, and then said, "Hey, I'm reformed. Look at me. Everything's okay now." That I'm going to counsel them against that, and I'm going to tell them, no, that's not the fruits. Fruits are seen through works. That's how you see what the fruit is. Otherwise, how could you ever determine what the fruits are? In this particular case, here's what the fruits are. She was a prostitute, or she was a loose woman. And in any case, this is counseled both ways in the Bible against both types of women, easy women and prostitutes. So yeah, it's going to take a little more than, I just got baptized last month, last year, before I give my blessing to my kid to marry somebody like that. I would think that you would counsel them the same way. Your past is not just erased.
And I don't say that that's wrong, and I don't say that men should feel obligated to date a woman if they're uncomfortable with their past, whether their present life is like that or not. I don't think that should be held against them. Because
but this is the wrong way to look at it. This is why we keep arguing, right? Because I'm saying they shouldn't. I'm saying that my advice would be you should not do that. Just because they're reformed and Christ has forgiven them doesn't mean it's a good idea for you to marry a former prostitute or a former promiscuous woman. Just because Christ has forgiven them, that's great.
Then
that's the path.
How would you preach that to a current prostitute? Tell me.
I would tell them you're going to have to live with what you did, just like I would tell a man.
David donated $69. Andrew, your point about women hiding behind religion is valid. Your favorite logical fallacies are Marlboro red herrings, straw man, and false dilemma. If a woman can prove she's reformed, may.
Andrew, you were about...
What does that even mean? So anyway...
Oh, wait, sorry.
Various crazy people donated $69. Born again Christian here. Former psycho, man in the forest essay artist, serial killer, axe murder.
Oh.
But you have to excuse my past. Dumb.
That is dumb. But back to this, back to your point, because it's important. Your question was asking me about forgiveness. Yes, of course it can be forgiven. They should be forgiven. And you ask me, well, wait a second. What would you say? I would say the same thing I would say to a man. You have to take accountability for what you did. That's part of the fruits you bear is accountability, especially under Christian ethics. That's what humbleness is about, is part of accountability. I wish I would see more reformed prostitutes who went over to the Christian ethic, who said, I'm accountable for everything I did, and I'm going to spend my life making sure that all these wrongs I did were righted. But they don't do that. Well, they go, I think that's I did these horrible wrongs, but now I'm saved. Don't judge me.
We're disagreeing because you're talking about women that weren't actually born again, and I'm talking about women that were.
Exactly.
No, you're not. We're talking about the same type of woman. You think, for instance, a porn star tomorrow could go to your church, whichever one it is that you go to, and the pastor could dunk her. She's saved, right?
No, you can't just say that you're saved. You can't. I could say that I'm a freaking
She gave her heart to Jesus. I'm sorry. She comes in. She says, she throws herself down. She says, Lord, forgive me. He dunks her. Okay.
These
now
actions
she's saved, right? She has been saved. Is that wrong?
She would know that because she would accept Holy Spirit into her life.
Right, sure. Okay, so she
And
knows
so
that
the
she's
only
been
way
saved.
done that, the only way another
then-
person can know is by the fruit. That is the
That's
only way
right.
another
The
person
only way
can
another
know.
person could know.
You'll know
is by
before the fruit comes out, but
yeah, but how
other
do you
people
know?
won't know
How do you?
until you see
how
the
would
fruit
you
of
judge
that.
a woman
who
who spent 20 years blowing men? What fruit does she need to produce?
The ex-prostitute would feel after you receiving the Holy Spirit an immense amount of shame. First and foremost, you would feel conviction in your heart for the first time, and that conviction would prompt you to listen. You can laugh all you want, but this is
To do
just the way
what?
it is.
It would prompt
It
you
would
to do
prompt
what?
you to want to change, reform, and take ownership and accountability for that past. However,
I see. So for instance, if I could tell you that there's a former porn star who exists right this second who's been sitting literally right where you're sitting right this second, literally been sitting there.
Yeah.
And she went and she got dunked at heresychurch.com.
Being
and she went on
baptized doesn't
a
make
publicity tour with her testament, her testimonial to the world about how she has been reformed by Christianity. Okay, you would say that this has not been enough time given for us to really judge the fruits, right?
No, I think that telling your testimony and making a public, I guess, proclamation about your past and owning up to it and actively speaking about that testimony in front of people, in front of an audience, or you're saying this person is like, okay, talking in front of an audience. I think that would be considered fruit, right?
No, I wouldn't. I would
That would be
consider.
good.
I
You've
would
been listening.
consider that a person.
I like stone fruits.
Just rolling through with your testament,
good
your
mango.
testimony
Do you like
doesn't mean
plums?
anything. That what
I love
means
plums.
something is what you actually
fruit is actions.
do.
Fruit is
what
actions.
you. Well, okay, but here's the fruits. The fruits are a lot more attention
I'm
for
hungry
you,
now.
and now a shield and a cloak from criticism, using Christianity as your shield. I would say that I would like to see women like this who reform actually give their life to making compensation towards those that they horrifically wronged, and I don't ever see that, ever.
Based.
Yeah.
How about this? So
I
women,
completely agree with you. I completely agree with you.
So women can change and be redeemed, but men are not obliged to then disregard their baggage and marry them.
Nope, they're not.
These are compatible.
No, and I
It's
think
compatible.
that's part of the works that Andrew is talking about. It's going to take work for you to earn the trust from a man when you have that type of past. And so I completely agree with that.
Which is why you encourage girls
Carnal
to
knowledge.
pursue the highest form of purity.
Damn, she's far as fuck from the mic right now.
I think
Holy
everyone
shit.
is entitled to have their preferences when
For
it
shizzle.
comes to dating.
Well, and bringing
Guys,
these,
I popped on really quick just because since you guys started talking about, immigration and how we're dealing with international affairs, there's a giant, huge elephant in the room that people don't ever talk about, which is the fact that our lovely representative republic allows us to have basically a shadow government called the CIA is the main thing I wanted to talk about. We can't really fix diplomacy on the front end and present diplomacy to the world when we have our CIA doing the stuff that they do behind the scenes, like with drug trafficking and with funding people like the Taliban and stuff like that. I mean, what Counterpoints was talking about, he had a very good point. Like, let's make the conditions such that America is not the only option and the entire third world isn't clamoring to come here. How do we do that if the CIA is running all kinds of game behind the scenes that our represented government is either unaware of or can't do anything about?
Yeah, I'd actually like to address this because I don't think it's that big of a shift from their current capacity set, and it's actually really interesting that we kind of bumped into this conversation because I was literally talking to a former Canadian CIA agent like 20 minutes ago, or like an hour ago, I guess now. But the point is that the CT's right in some respects, and then I think there's some historical examples that would be counter to this. Basically, like Europe after World War II, Japan after World War II, South Korea after the Korean War would be examples where we've done nation building correctly. And what that was was we didn't try to completely change the culture. We just changed the cultural parts that were nefarious or against us. And then we supported them like economically, militarily, all that kind of stuff while they got their feet under them. And in a way that was like long term. We are still in Germany. We are still in South Korea. We are still in Japan right now. So to answer that point, it's like, yeah, we suck at nation building in Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is goddamn. Well, that's like one of the biggest challenges. I don't want to dodge, base mom real quick. So what I was saying is like, how do we do this? Oftentimes you can do this with like, one of the things that I'm a big advocate for is called foreign internal defense. It's what our special forces do, where they train indigenous forces to be responsible for their own security. That's how you send in 30 guys and they train 10,000 in order to be an effective fighting force. And so that way, one of the reasons why we're taking in tons of Afghan refugees, the reasons why we take in tons of Central and South American refugees or asylum seekers, is because we're partially responsible for fucking those places up. Whereas where you take a consultative approach, where you're saying like, I'm not running the show, I'm just helping you run your shit, that has a different level of moral responsibility. And I know I've been talking for a while, so I'll shut the fuck up. But
yeah, I don't know if that really addresses things like Fast and Furious or some of the drug running that we've caught the CIA doing in South and Central America. I mean, it's like a lot of the time our elected government has one policy that they talk about and show the world, and that, you hear all the candidates debating about anytime we have an election. And then the CIA is doing things behind the scenes, like with the Bay of Pigs, like with Saddam Hussein, with Osama bin Laden. I mean, we're talking about the covert operations that you don't find out about until 20, 30, 50 years after the fact. So talking about diplomacy and talking about policy, to me, feels kind of futile when we have agencies, intelligence agencies, not just ours, but MI6, Mossad, everybody's got, their secret behind the scenes intelligence agencies who are running drugs, laundering money, setting up secret assets in foreign nations. So we can talk about training, people to defend their own country and things like that. But how do we take care of this behind the scenes, shadowy, what the people who are doing the real policy and making the real decisions?
Can I try and address that?
Sure.
What is the purpose of MI6, the CIA, and all these shadow organizations?
Well, there's their stated purpose and there's what they actually do. So again, it's a public policy and a public face on something where they say, well, look, every country needs to know what's going on. We all need intelligence. We have to find out, who's really running things in other countries. We need intelligence so we know if there's an imminent attack. It's a national security issue to have intelligence agencies. But what we always find is that they get caught doing things like Iran-Contra. They get caught doing things like Operation Paperclip. The list is so long now of things you can just go to Wikipedia and read about now. This isn't even top secret stuff.
But you're saying it directly too. But she's saying it directly too. That's the poster they put outside on the front window. The real purpose of them is to do what? We need to keep our country on top, so we're going to just start messing everybody else up.
It's actually, it doesn't have anything to do, so the CIA does not necessarily have the best interest of the American people at heart. All of these agencies work together to benefit generally the global elite more than anything else. It's the CIA isn't doing anything for the people. They're doing for Klaus Schwab and those guys.
Can I address this though? Because here's the thing is like, we with a little bit of an expansion and definition, I think some of this stuff can dovetail really quickly into tangents that I don't like, but here's what I think we could agree on. Is that like intelligence agencies predominantly in the Western world or whatever, they are not serving specific nation states. They're not saying this is our border. We only protect our border. We only care about our country, our nation, etc. What they do though, is they do enforce a certain level of like Western capitalist hegemony. And I don't use that term with derision. Like I'm not criticizing this. I am the beneficiary of Western capitalist hegemony. This fucking microphone was probably, created by slave labor in fucking Malaysia or some shit that is enforced by Western capitalist hegemony. And so what I would say is that there's this internationalist like scheme of intelligence agencies and military agencies and law enforcement agencies enforcing, global capital, as leftists would call it, to basically like enforce international trade routes and all that kind of stuff. There is nefarious stuff. There is dirty stuff. There are people killing each other. There are people manipulating each other. But ultimately what ends up happening is, if you look at it on a global scale, is we do have secure access to energy. We do have secure access to food. We do have secure access to consumer goods. So we can malign the means through which we get these places, like the banana wars being like a famous like early 20th century example, where we literally went to war on behalf of banana corporations to make sure that they were able to like maintain their social power in Central America and export products to the United States. That seems like small potatoes or small bananas for a national government to be intervening on behalf of a business in a different country. But at the same time, as a result, you have these international logistic chains that are so powerful that we can't even fucking understand how powerful they are. And so that's where, like, for me, like when you zoom in on the dirt of like CIA had an assassination program in, Vietnam, CIA destabilized Latin America or whatever. We supported the Shah of Iran after they deposed like a democratically elected fucking representative or some shit like that. A lot of these things, everybody in this room is ultimately the beneficiary of when they have secure access to material goods.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe that, because this whole entire, my oldest daughter's 20. We went to war in Afghanistan when she was a baby. I think she was like 7 or 8 months old when that happened. And her whole entire lifetime, we've been over there doing what we've been doing. And I don't think I could argue that she or I are necessarily the beneficiaries of that, because there's no alternate history timeline we can look to see what would have happened had we not done all those things, had all those things not unfolded the way they did. And the CIA was completely involved in manipulating all of that. To even homeschooling my kids now who are 9 and 12, to try to explain to them what the hell we were doing in Afghanistan, telling them about the Big 9 event, right? And then why the F we went to Afghanistan and then to Iraq, and the whole WMDs thing, and Saddam Hussein being our guy. Try teaching them actual history. It's really convoluted. It's really hard to explain to them. And I think I'd have a really hard time explaining to them that, no, but it was for your own good, kids. We should be thankful for this.
Oh, that doesn't mean it's not blood-soaked and terrible. And Sansel, I know you came on, but I have an opportunity to do my favorite history rant.
Yeah, you're fine.
So, okay, cool. So basically, this is the history, and if people in chat want to Google a couple of things, I would actually appreciate it if they did. We support, this could actually all be traced back to Iran. We supported a monarchy after they tried to nationalize their oil. We took this over from the British, who originally were imposing their will on the country, and then we took it over as a geopolitical interest to stabilize oil supply through the 60s and 70s. So we supported the Shah into the 70s, and he was increasingly unpopular and used increasingly authoritarian means in order to maintain power, including imprisoning people, torturing them, all that kind of stuff. And we didn't really care because we wanted access to oil. Oil is important. So, in 1979, the Iran-Iraq war kicks off because Iran undergoes a originally democratic revolution. We can't stop it. A theocracy emerges from that. And Saddam Hussein tries to capitalize on the chaos in order to seize oil fields. And it starts getting his shit pushed in. He just gets his ass kicked. So he's starting to lose the war. And there's something called the Riegel Report. R-I-E-G-L-E. And what this is the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom, in order to make sure that Iraq didn't lose the war, because they're on the front doorstep of Saudi Arabia, which is the second largest producer of petroleum on the planet. We sell Iraq dual-use chemicals and botulism and anthrax and VX and all this crap. So we don't sell them the finished WMDs, but we sell them all of the stuff that can be used to manufacture WMDs. And the CIA actually does consult on target placement for these weapons in order to make sure that they're used effectively. This results in Iranians being killed in some of the most horrific ways that you can possibly imagine. So Iraq is actually able to prevail, but then because Iraq finds out, we were doing Iran-Contra at the same time, where we were selling weapons to Iran in order to fund narco guerrillas in South America. Since Saddam finds out that we're playing both sides, he's like, fuck you, United States. Even though you gave me a bunch of money, you also fought against me simultaneously, so fuck all of y'all. I'm going to go after Kuwait, I'm going to go after Saudi Arabia, and I'm going to go after Israel, because fuck all y'all motherfuckers, you're pieces of shit. He's not our boy anymore. He bit the hand that fed, right? So we have a problem, because he's got WMDs now, and he invades Kuwait. During Kuwait, there's two things that Osama bin Laden cited as his motivations for terrorism. One was we covered for Israel when they invaded Lebanon, and Christian militias in Lebanon under Israeli surveillance slaughtered 3,000 Muslim civilians, and we covered the Israeli withdrawal. So through complicity with Israel, we are the bad guys for overseeing the slaughter of 3,000 Muslims. And this is the Phalanges was the Christian militia that slaughtered people in Lebanon. Then the second reason why Osama bin Laden cited that he hated us was because Saudi Arabia called on us to defend the oil fields instead of the Mujahideen. So basically, it was a geopolitical betrayal of the Muslim people to have a bunch of degenerate, Western, evil, douchebags on Saudi soil defending Saudi territory. And those are the two reasons, or those are two of the reasons that he cited for doing 9/11. And so what I would say is then you get into the war on terror, and I could talk for another fucking half hour, but I'm not going to. The point is that these things are complex, but it's not an omniscient, omnipotent CIA that's playing everybody all the time. It's them riding the political forces of history that have their own current and momentum. And I'll shut up for now.
I bet those glasses make you see better.